for the 5th time, I need to know, what's your favorite scary movie?
The Babadook.
I love elevated horror.
The Babadook sucks. Get out of here.
Oh no.
I'm talking about real good horror, because we're talking about the 5th edition of Scream. So that's one of my favorite scary movies.
Okay, one of my favorites is Stab 8.
Man, Stab 8. Let me tell you about Stab 8 real quick. Stab 8 was the stab of the franchise. I mean, did you see that shit? Ghostface has a flamethrower. I mean, how can you get any better?
That doesn't
Redefine the franchise for a whole new audience.
Okay, for real, I was not expecting it. I was not expecting that cutscene or that little snippet from Stab 8 where he has a flamethrower. That was weird.
Yeah.
Talk about jumping the gun.
All right. So real quick,
Who are we?
I'm Sparks Woody.
Yeah, that's Sparks. We also have Brandon T. McClure
Hello, I'm here too.
and Ryan Eliopoulos.
I'm here. I'm with my prescribed 5% lidocaine, 5% cream right here. 5 cream.
Oh, that's why you have the little cane as your background. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Duh,
what
Ben.
is-
And of course, we've got our ghost face with the most face, Ben Magnet, up there.
That's me.
All right.
We're here to talk about 5cream, otherwise wrongly known as Scream, or Scream 5.
Here's the thing. They're calling the next one Scream 6. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Here,
it's got to be 5 cream. It is 5 cream.
I respect that the title is a joke in itself because it is taking a shot at the
reboot.
Halloween 2018 film.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's funny. I wish that it was just called 5 cream.
Yeah.
It's Scream 6. Screamy.
To be honest, when I was looking at this, trying to watch this on Paramount Plus last night, and I put in Scream, I was like, wait, I saw just like 2 different Screams because I was looking for Scream 5. I'm like, am I going to watch the right movie?
Hold on,
Thankfully,
I gotta
did.
tell you real quickly. Something that I freaking loved is I went to Paramount Plus. I've got Paramount Plus, and I plugged it in. I wrote out 5cream. I literally wrote 5cream, and it came up. Bravo, Paramount Plus.
They know what
Thank
they're
you so
doing.
much.
Ooh,
Oh.
Paramount. Look at
Ooh,
you.
All right.
Paramount.
So we're here for the latest at this moment of recording Scream entry. This has been absolutely goddamn fun. I'm so excited to talk about this entry. I'm thrilled we're here. I'm thrilled Ben has seen this whole franchise in such a small amount of time. So
Mhm. I did it.
let's get some first reactions from this movie. Ben, you've seen this once, so why don't you go ahead and go first?
On my first watch, I have to say I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah.
I had a fun time. It was different. It was kind of the whole joke of the Scream movies is that they're very meta, is that they're like making fun of horror movies while they're in a horror movie and they're talking about horror movies. And the one Randy's niece, whose name I forgot, where she's talking like the scene where she's talking about the requels or the reboots or the
Requels.
yeah, the requels. And the whole time she's talking about this, it was like, yeah, we got we got some legacy characters. We got like when we first meet Sydney, I was like, yay, Sydney. I was so glad to see her for a hot second. And I absolutely love Sam. I love Jenna Ortega in this movie, and I had a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. Brandon,
Yes, sir.
tell me first thoughts. Initial thoughts. I know you've seen it more than once. Initial thoughts.
Well, so I saw this in theaters. I really like the Scream movies. Sparks introduced me to the Scream movies. And I was very grateful that he did. And watching the trailers for this film coming out, I was stoked. I thought this looked really great. I was really excited for it. And then like people started talking about like, hey, it's actually a big apology to Rian Johnson. And I was like, oh. And I was just kind of looking at this movie, and like, even if that's not true, because I think that it kind of is and it isn't. I don't think intentionally it's meant to be. But I think that like watching this movie twice now has solidified it as my favorite of the Scream franchise. I really like 1 and 2. I really like 4. But this movie does a lot of things that I'm just like, the second time I watched it, especially, I had a big old smile on my face. Like I kept thinking after every scene, I was like, man, this movie rules. I adore this one.
hell yeah. All right, Ryan.
Hey, guess what? They made another good Scream movie. Could you believe it?
I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah. Not having Wes Craven is a big bummer. And when it was first announced, You're like, okay, they're gonna, every franchise gets rebooted. It's what's gonna happen. But the team behind it, the Ready or Not team, real good. Really like that movie. And I'm like, okay, cool. Trailers come out. Looks pretty good. I think this movie's a slam dunk. I think it is exactly, it is the 21st century, the second 21st century version of what a Scream movie should be and would be. I think maybe besides like the first movie, it has the strongest performances. I think the performances from almost everybody in this movie are spectacular, including our original trio who get to shine. This could have been like the death knell of the franchise if this like reboot was bad, but it was the opposite. It was a huge success, and they greenlit a sequel like 10 days later. I think it's great. Again, I was talking with Sparks the other day about like, is Scream like technically like the best horror franchise? Because like all the movies are good, the worst one's good. So like Scream is like one of the best franchises out there, and 5cream solidifies it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent jumping on point. I do also love this movie. I think if I took myself completely away from my own personal like affections for other sequels, this is the best movie since the first one.
Yeah,
I think in pretty much every blanket way of acknowledging it. There's a lot of factors to that, and we're going to get into them. Definitely, I was a person who was like, when you said going forward with Scream without Wes Craven, I'm like, ooh. Especially like I was more on board if they didn't bring back legacy characters. Like if we were starting with entirely unrelated characters, I was like, sure, I'm cool with that, because that feels like you're not touching on Wes's legacy, but bringing in Dewey and Gale and Sydney had me really, really nervous at first.
And they even have a character named Wes.
But importantly, yeah. So they can do the 4 Wes party. I thought was a really nice touch. So I think what helps and what's important is that there's 2 major factors, which is that Wes Craven, I'm not going to say Wes Craven's necessarily an incredible director. I think like his direction's pretty good. What I think is valuable is he's a very good filmmaker. I think that I was thinking about it a lot, and I wanted to get to it when we got to this one, just in terms of like looking back at the Scream films and in general. Wes always knows what the themes of his movie are. And while he might not be doing anything incredible with the camera necessarily for directing, sometimes it's kind of like Scream 3, I think, is fairly like plainly directed.
Yeah. Yes.
I think he's always getting good performances out of the actors, and he's always keeping them in line with what the themes of the movie are. And so this is such a new thing, because I think these directors are legitimately like really good directors. And that's very new to the franchise in a way, just the visual way that this is presented. But I also think they're good at getting performances out of their actors as well. But importantly, like those actors also had that good relationship. It was one of those things where like when this was coming about, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Nev Campbell were all really hesitant to get back in without Wes. They really, really didn't want to do it. They felt like they were going to be tarnishing his legacy. And it was a lot of 2 things. The team coming to them with the script, really talking with them about maintaining what was true to the characters and what they felt should be there, and that they had a lot of say in how their characters were put into the film. If they felt like something didn't fit, then it didn't happen. That's part of it. The other part of it is that Kevin Williamson might not have written the script for this one, but Kevin Williamson was a major hand executive producer in making sure that what was valuable about the Scream franchise and what Wes cared about and what Williamson cared about continued. And that's really important to notice too.
And I feel that.
Yeah, I feel it too.
Yeah.
And I think that's why this film comes out so successful as we're going to move forward with more Scream films, but it feels like Williamson and Craven's time was given its full due, and now we're moving into new territory, and that's okay too. So wanted to get into that, and let's jump right in.
Well, I think
how
Ryan.
long,
Oh no, go ahead.
How long do you guys think that opening scene is with Jenna Ortega?
7 minutes.
10 minutes?
Take a wild guess. You're really close, Brandon.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
15?
Okay, too high, but it's 11 minutes and it does not feel like it.
Yeah.
No.
That's an 11-minute opening scene. Holy shit, is that a great opening scene?
Yeah.
It really moves.
One of the things that I think this movie does really well all through the movie is build tension. We'll talk about the scene in Wes's house a little later. But like the Jenna Ortega scene, the opening kill, is really cool because you're like really like you first, if you're not really paying a lot of attention, you're not really too sure that the voice that's calling him that's calling her is Ghostface.
Yes.
You do catch on, but it's like not immediately. You're just like, wait, oh shit. And it's like he's like barely disguised his voice, but it's the way he's doing his inflection. And we'll talk about the actor once again, I'm sure, who delivers an incredible vocal performance. But so once you kind of catch on to what's happening, you start to realize, the tension starts to build, and then like it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. Even like the bit where she's trying to lock the door, and then Ghostface unlocks it and locks it. Great tension building, and even when she's getting stabbed, you're just like, oh shit.
You spend so much time knowing he's the killer.
Yeah.
Like they just have like a 5-minute conversation about horror movies and like the Babadook and elevated horror and all that stuff. And then once he's like, oh, I know your name. Isn't that kind of scary? Then it's like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. It is kind of scary. And then she enters the heightened mode, and we enter heightened mode, and then the movie changes. It is, every one of these movies has like an opening kill type of thing, but like this one is really, really effective. Also, it's like the only one where like the person survives, which made me immediately think, oh, is she the killer?
Oh yeah.
This movie does such a good job, just like the first one, and all of them do this. Like you don't know who the killer is. Like this one, like I really feel like it could have been anybody. And they do a good job of, once you know who the killer is, you look for the signs, just like the other movies. You're like, oh yeah, it's clearly them. Look how often they disappear.
The only people you know for sure it isn't are the legacy characters.
Of course,
and then outside of that, you're like,
because that would have been the mistake of the movie.
And that kind of goes back to what I talk about a lot with the past Scream films, and even whodunits in general. I think a successful whodunit is one that you can watch again, because because oftentimes with the whodunit, it's really difficult to recreate that feeling. So you have to kind of make sure that if you're going for a rewatch, there's more to enjoy, there's more to look for, there's more to kind of be like. And when you're watching this a second time, what you notice is that they're very clear that Amber's the killer. They tell you flat out from the jump that Amber is the killer.
Yeah, rewatching that opening scene, I'm like, oh yeah, like he's looking at Amber through the window, and I'm like, oh, this is so smart. This is so smart.
Scanned Amber's phone, and it's like, no, it's just Amber's phone.
It's just Amber's phone. Yeah. It's even so smart once you know.
Even in the hospital, when the sister, I forgot her name now, gets
Tara?
the call. What is it?
Sam or Tara?
Sam. When Sam gets the call, it says maybe Amber.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, they're just telling you that Amber's the killer.
Maybe.
Right, because again, can just get away with cloned Amber's phone as the excuse. So Amber's phone can just be the phone calling from then on. And it's like, no, it's just Amber's phone.
Because these are all tricks that Ghostface has used in the previous films. You're not really looking for that because you're like, oh, well, these are just tricks that he's used.
Importantly, there's two things about this opening that we're bringing up right now that are both, I think, subtextually, they're references to Scream 3. And like, they're doing it better, right? It's the Roger L. Jackson coming in and doing the like, I'm sounding like a normal person voice before giving in completely to like the sinister maliciousness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like doing the voice changer thing, except it's really not. It's just putting on the effects of like, if I don't try to sound like Ghostface, I can just sound like a person.
It's Bruce Wayne the Batman. He just makes it darker.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's the phone thing, right? Going back to the Amber thing, that's just like one of my favorite bits in Scream 3, which is knowing that if Roman's the killer, it's just Roman on the phone when he's talking to Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's the same here. It's just Amber's phone. There's no trick there. It's just Amber's phone in hindsight.
Maybe it's Amber's phone.
God, the opening is so good.
While we're on the opening, though, I want to talk about my favorite shot. One of my favorite shot in Scream. So two of my favorite shots are in this movie and the whole franchise, and they both deal with how they frame Ghostface. It's when Jenna Ortega like kicks him, and he slowly gets up as the camera like kind of turns a little bit, and and then it frames Ghostface from the bottom, making him look like this very large, imposing figure. I don't think Ghostface has ever looked more menacing.
It's a great trailer shot. Absolutely. Yeah, like the framing in this movie specifically, it's like obviously it's always a dude. It's always been a dude, and they're always fumbling over. But there are a lot of really great menacing shots in this movie for sure.
Yeah.
So it's very valuable, I think, to also acknowledge that this is the most violent Ghostface has been for sure. That's not a lack of a desire to make Ghostface violent in previous entries, but like they were always outside of Scream 3, kind of pushing it for the time.
Mhm.
Notably, Scream 1 had to pull a lot back because they were getting an NC-17 rating constantly, and they were like, we need to get to an R.
Yeah.
So like this is the kind of stuff Wes would have wanted to do, unbridled by the studio system.
Yeah,
there's some
and it's just
excellent
time allowing that to happen.
The fact that Jenna Ortega survives getting stabbed 7 times the way that she did, like multiple times in the stomach, in the back, her ankle gets stomped on. I'm like, that little girl went through so much. If she's the killer, I swear to God.
There's so many great kills, and just even like keeping it on the beginning when her hand gets stabbed through. Excellent cringy moment. You're just like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, Jenna Ortega's great in this. I think more than anything, one of my favorite things is her scene where she's wheeling herself through the hospital. Because
the bloody hand.
So often you'll get a character going into a wheelchair in a horror movie, and like, you know, they're just, all right, I gotta, you know, like I got injured the last time, but here I gotta go. And it's like, no, it's like Jenna Ortega is putting the effort of like her physical injuries are still taking a toll on her throughout the film.
Bloodying the wheels, leaving a blood trail. Like it's awful. That again, like, I don't know if anyone's gone through more than maybe that girl. Besides Sydney, of course, but
sure.
like I know it's got stabbed 7 times and then got attacked multiple times after like that. Like she really went through the ringer in this one, man.
For sure.
Thank God she had a supportive sister.
Ben, what do you think of the opening?
Oh, I loved it. I think but because of the Scream 6 trailer, I knew Jenna Ortega wasn't going to die.
Sure.
But the fact that it was still so violent, because for a split second I was like, oh no, she's dead, because she got stabbed 7 times. She's like, you could see the only saving grace is like you see the sirens, you see the police showing up, and you see the ghost face about to like deal a finishly blow. Then you get the title screen, and when we meet Sam for the first time and you get the phone call, it's like, whoa, that's brutal.
Yeah.
And we get introduced. Yeah, we get introduced to Sam. She works at like a roller rink. She's got a great, cute new boyfriend, Richie. You know, Jack.
Oh
Quaid
my God!
What a lovable scamp that guy is.
Jack Quaid is wonderful in this movie.
There's another Scream constantly putting actors into movies in a movie that I never knew they were in.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. Well, that's what's fun about these kind of things.
I think Jack Quaid is so good in this movie, and so to the point that when he is revealed to be the killer, you're kind of like, oh, I'm kind of bummed about that.
He has that really great line, which is like, I know.
It's a bummer.
It's a bummer. It's me.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, it is, Jack. It is a bummer.
Yeah.
I also think it was completely the right call. We'll get into that. We'll save talking about the killers towards the end. But I do think Jack Quaid's great in this. I think he's doing a very good job of being exactly what he is.
Yeah. I like all of our new teens. You know, the twins.
I like most of our new teens.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think they're all fun. Like, there is Liv, who is like the boring girl, but like I think her being the boring girl is funny because they make fun of her a lot for it, and I just think that's funny.
Yeah.
And then like she tries to turn it around and ends up just getting her killed, and I'm like, man, that's what Liv just. What a boring, sad, like, man.
Well, I think all of the characters that make it out of this movie, I'll say that all the characters that make it out of this movie are really interesting, and I'm happy they did, because I like them a lot, and I would gladly follow them into the sequel.
Sure.
Yeah, if Liv was one of the survivors, I'd maybe feel differently. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, but kind of the joke is that Liv is boring, and she does die. There is a character in the trailer who I completely misremembered doesn't make it out of this movie.
Is that Liv or Wes?
No, the trailer for Scream 6. Sorry, I wasn't clear enough. The trailer for Scream 6 shows a character who I thought died in this movie.
Oh, I see. One of the twins. Because it's weird because like I saw him in the trailer for Scream 6 and I was like, oh right, because he survived at the end of the movie. And I misremember a scene from Scream 5. But no, he's just dead at the end of this movie. No, he isn't.
No, he isn't. You see him in the ambulance.
No, he gives a thumbs up in the ambulance.
Yeah, we see him in the ambulance.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, no, he's alive.
He's definitely alive.
Dude, I'm gonna scrub through because I missed that, and that's actually a problem because if I did, there's something wrong with my brain.
We definitely literally just watched it. I think you just like looked at your phone, you blinked, you were talking.
Oh no!
to
Don't say that. I'd never look at my phone when I'm watching a movie.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Oh, he's actually gonna. Okay. Where are we from here?
We were talking about Liv and how Liv is.
But she needs to get got because that's
yeah.
It is kind of funny.
That's the thing, is that she feels like she's there as fodder to me, and I'm like, if there were a character I thought needed just a little bit more of something, it was Liv.
That's true.
Like, she does have that one good moment with Mindy, but then outside that, I find her completely unremarkable.
Yeah, I agree.
And like, I'll say, like, because you need characters who can die in the movies, but like,
But we care about every character.
But you also need to care,
Yeah.
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And Liv is one who I'm like,
Yeah.
So that's where I land on that one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I never really cared about Liv. She was like hardly there. And then when she shows up and she has that scene with what's her name on the couch, for a second I thought, oh, are you the killer?
Right, and that's what it's there to make you feel, is like, oh, could it be this? But like, I feel personally like that scene maybe comes a little too late. Like, I wish that beat were earlier in the movie to kind of make me like at least thinking about Liv, because frankly, I'm just not thinking about Liv enough up to that point.
Well, I mean, again, like, if we're going off other movies, like Mickey disappears like a lot.
No, it's true.
So like,
it's true.
If she was going to be the killer, like, oh yeah, you guys don't suspect the boring girl because what am I doing, being boring?
Right.
And like, if they were going that direction, it would work. But again, like, I feel like they didn't know what to do with her until that one scene.
Yeah.
And again, because all the other characters in these other movies, like, none of them are boring.
I'll even put it this way. I wish there were like one more scene somewhere in the movie with Mindy and Chad, like both of them. Or sorry, not Mindy and Chad. Chad and Liv.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that could have done a lot.
Sure. Yeah. For them being twins, like, yeah, they don't really. They have somewhat of a relationship, but it's mostly just like, yeah, we're twins.
Yeah,
we're brother and sister. Hopefully, that's more explored in the sequel.
Yeah, I do love how they're Randy's niece and nephew, though.
Seeing his their aunt or Randy's sister again.
I really like Mindy as like new Randy. I think she's got a lot of good energy for it and everything.
I do too.
When we get to like the party scene, this is fine for me for this movie. In the next movie, I need Mindy to take things a little more seriously.
Oh,
like when
sure.
killings are happening around them, like there's a part of me that's a little bit like, Mindy, this is Stu Macher's house.
Like she's
and
watching.
You know that.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing, Mindy?
Maybe
Mindy, you gotta like. She's like joking about her brother potentially going outside and getting killed.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mindy, this isn't funny.
People
are dying. Wes is dead.
They don't explicitly say it in the movie, but if Mindy should have been like, "Oh, I'm the Randy. I know I'm not going to die in this movie, so I have nothing to worry about." They should have done something like that.
Yeah,
she is very laissez-faire about.
Even her living in the meta would have like helped me a little bit, but I'm like, your friend is dead, and I don't feel like you're taking this as seriously and as you should. And she does acknowledge that, like, you know, watching the movie like helps calm her nerves and that kind of thing, and like that's all fine and everything, but like legitimately when her brother like goes outside and doesn't come back for a while, I'm like, Mindy, come on.
No, yeah.
Mindy, take this serious.
No, yeah, that's one of those things like
at a certain point Randy got serious.
One line could have fixed that for me.
Right, yeah. So I'm just hoping in the next one, like, she can still be like the meta references and just like Randy was in Scream 2, but I do want her to like live in the moment of the sincerity of what's happening. Yeah. She got attacked. Her brother got attacked. Like
she's so in this movie, it kind of Scream 3 we talked about the last time we talked about the Scream movies, and one of the clunkier things about Scream 3 is the exposition. There's the Randy scene where Randy's sister that we never knew existed shows up and gives her a tape. But it's very funny that this movie was like, and there's that character again.
It's very much doing the best. It's one of the things like in general, this film is a little different from the other Scream films because usually the Scream movies are specifically targeting the horror movies of the time. This is a little less true with this one. There's Halloween for sure, but then there's not that many horror films that are doing the requel or the legacy sequel right now.
Not yet.
So they're instead targeting that is a trend in general. When she has that monologue, she goes after it. She's like, Terminator's doing it. Star Wars is doing it. Like, that is a trend happening in Hollywood. It's just not necessarily big in the horror genre as much. Go ahead.
She mentioned Saw, and this is one of the only times excuse me, this is one of the only times that I paused the movie because like I was watching this with my partner and we both really like the Saw movies. She introduced me to the Saw movies when we went to see Spiral. Now I've talked at length about how Spiral is a misfire. And she talks about specifically how Spiral is one of those attempts at kind of a legacy sequel or a requel. And this movie really solidifies how much of a misfire the Spiral is. And I'm just going to take a minute just to shit on Spiral for a second.
Sure.
Because this is what Spiral should have done. Scream 5 is frankly what Spiral should have been. It should have been that kind of legacy sequel, but it's not. Instead, it tries to elevate the Saw franchise, and it tries to do a Stab 8 more than a Scream 5. Like it tries to elevate the Saw franchise into this kind of like quote unquote elevated horror area, and completely ruins everything that works about the Saw films. The Saw films are gore porn films. If you get away from that, there's nothing left. It's not Saw anymore. That's actually that's honestly the appeal of Saw. You get if the way that 5cream is presented is that this still needs to be a Scream movie. We're not elevating Scream. This is a Scream movie. It's a slasher whodunit. There's nothing more to that.
Right.
We can play in that genre, but if we leave that genre, we're not Scream anymore.
Right.
100%.
I think that's a good point. I think also like what's there in that discussion is that what like elevated horror, however you want to apply that term, what I think is really happening in the horror genre is that where there's a lot of this like indie creativeness is that things that aren't in the Scream umbrella or like franchising umbrella, they're all being so designed to tell one horror story and that's it. They're not trying to create new icons or give you a reason to feel like you need a sequel or anything. They're trying to tell you one spooky story and that's the end. Hereditary, and all these things that come from A24 for sure.
Yeah.
But that's usually the goal there. And that's not the kind of thing you can do with Scream. Scream's not generally set up. That's Scream's got its icon. Ghostface is an icon. It has its legacy characters. It has this whole thing. It can't kind of live in that umbrella. And I think that's where like Halloween got weird with David Gordon Green, is that it wanted to bring like the sensibility of more serious modern horror into something where your characters are icons.
Mm-hmm.
And those things like mix and match with like different variables we've talked about with the Halloween franchise of success and failure. But here, in horror and in general on the requel discussion, I think that they do such a good job. This is getting back to the original point I was going to make with bringing back things like Randy's sister, taking the pieces that maybe even didn't work before and reincorporating them in a way that makes it work better, using it to the advantage of the story that they're telling to go forward, using it to the advantage of building forward. Like what I think is so great, and this happens a lot in other horror franchises, because usually when they're coming back to something and they're trying to make a good one, a quote unquote good one, they'll say, yeah, so like the classic's great, but forget all those bad ones, guys. Like forget all the bad sequels. And that's usually how they are. But Scream doesn't have to do that because none of its sequels were truly, truly bad.
Yep.
It can just be like, yes, everything that happened. And we're still living in the world where that happened. Judy's still here. Scream 4 still happened. Scream 3 still happened.
It's just
like it's all just here.
It's just respecting continuity, like a comic book. Like it all happened. You might not have to like it, but like it all happened.
That's a really good analogy, Ryan, with like the comic book thing, because like Scream was built from its inception to be a commentary on horror. And so like because like, Scream 4 is like the reboot Scream, but it's not really a reboot. It's a legacy sequel. It's a legacy sequel before that term was even coined.
Right.
Scream 5 is a legacy sequel, but there was already one. But like, so like Scream is able to Scream works so well because it's able to fit what it's trying to do without outright rebooting its franchise. It can just say, oh, this Scream 4 is a reboot. That's the reboot movie. That's what it's trying to commentary on. It's trying to commentary on those reboots. This is trying to commentary on those legacy sequels. And it works really well because we can keep all the elements going forward and we can keep building off of them. When I saw Judy in this movie, I was flabbergasted. I was like, oh shit, that's right. Because when I saw Scream 4, it was years before I saw Scream 4 between Scream 5 the first time.
Right.
So like it's really cool that they're able to do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Judy coming back is great. She's a lot less weird and creepy in this one. She's kind of just grown up into a nice mom, sheriff. I love it's always about like Scream 1, you know, you have these characters, but they all have this history, you know, that we don't know about with the mom and Billy's dad and all that stuff, right? We come to this movie, and now Sam has a history that we don't really know about, but it's connected to those original movies. And like, it all makes sense and it all fits. And like, rewatching this again and having Billy show up as her psycho brain, like, hey, you're part of my family, so you got to see some crazy stuff. And I'm like, I really like it. And I don't know how much it actually adds to the movie, but it's a nice fun wrinkle. Again, like going from, is it Scream 3 where she sees her mom?
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that. I'm like, okay, like this is all in line. It's like, it's not completely out of the ordinary to see, you know, a dead relative. And like her having to like embrace her serial killer side, like it's almost like Dexter. Like she doesn't do it to kill people. She does it to save people from bad people. And like her stabbing Richie like 40 times was kind of really satisfying.
I do really like the inclusion of Skeet Ulrich as Billy Loomis, which is funny because when I was first in theaters and it happened, I was like, oh, I don't know about this.
I immediately was like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening?
But I have to say, I think it's really good. I think it really works. And there's definitely an element where they're at least flirting with the idea that that's really a ghost and not just her brain.
Yes.
And my only argument for this is Billy sees the knife before Sam does. Sam doesn't see the knife, then look at Billy. Billy sees the knife and kind of is like, there's a knife
That's
there.
what
And
got
Sam's
me.
like, oh, there's a knife there.
That's
And
what
I'm
got
like,
me.
Wait, is Billy there?
That's what I'm like, is this becoming supernatural a little bit? No, but
Ben,
Yeah.
your first time watching this, I really want to know what you thought when Billy shows up.
Oh man, when he first shows up, I'm like, what? And then I was like, okay, how is he related to Sam? How was he that? How? Really, I was just at first I was kind of confused because I'm like, he's dead. How is he showing up in Sam's brain or in the mirror? What's going on? And then when she reveals that she's Billy's daughter, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like that whole exposition dump on how her adopted dad left it, but she didn't know, and she's just like the reason why she went crazy, or not crazy, but the reason why she went distant, the reason why she was getting in trouble a lot was because she was still so mad at her mom for keeping the secret. And of course, when the secret's brought to light, the dad finds out, and he just GTFOs, he's out.
yeah,
Well,
Sam thinks she ruined everyone's life.
Well, because and it's so well layered because it's both things, right? Like I made Dad leave because I'm the one who told him unintentionally, and also I'm Billy Loomis's daughter, so maybe serial killer is hereditary, which is, you know, regardless of how I feel about that, it's hard for me in the Scream franchise to say that's not true because there's also Mrs. Loomis sitting right there.
Yeah, there is.
So
Yeah.
that's at least 2 generations. So there could
For
be
this franchise, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Well, so like one of the things that's really cool about bringing it back to Billy is that it's unpredictable, right? Like we talked a lot about how Scream plays in the predictable, but also in the unpredictable. There's predictable and unpredictable elements in every movie, and sometimes it's really a master at juggling those kind of things. This film is no different. So introducing the idea that Billy Loomis had an illegitimate daughter is really fascinating and completely unexpected that you wouldn't necessarily think would happen, because oftentimes when these movies go back to the past, they connect someone to Sydney's mother, and it's fine. But like what this film, I think, rightly decided to do was step away from that so far and be like, actually, this person is related to Billy.
I think that was smart, or I think that was like a better choice, because so many times have we connected stuff back, or not so many times, but there is definitely a lot of hints like, oh, I knew your mom, or there was someone related to Sydney's mom. The fact that Sydney takes more of a backseat because she's been through this 4 times. She's like, I'm retired, man. I'm done. She finally has a good life. She's happy. She's enjoying her life.
She married Detective McDreamy.
Oh, she
Got
did.
multiple kids, living life.
To your point, Ben, like up to this film, at least one killer has always been related to either Billy or Sydney.
Mhm.
It's Billy's mom in 2, it's Sydney's half brother in 3, and then Sydney's niece in
4,
or cousin in 4.
Mhm.
Wild.
Yeah, but I like how they related But with Scream 5 is specifically Scream 5. I like how they related a character to Billy, but this is our main character we're following throughout the entire film, who's the victim, not the murderer.
Yeah.
I mean, she gets one kill at the end, but that's in self-defense. She ain't going to jail for that.
Right,
Also, worst hospital ever. Just the Woodsboro Hospital
for the second time in a decade.
Where
Jesus
are all
Christ,
these
this
workers? Again, Woodsboro needs more workers.
I'm watching this like when the lights go out and you see the cop that, but then I was like, there's nurses everywhere. There should be all these other people around watching.
I know where they are. They're at the hospital in Halloween and in Halloween Kills. They're in Haddonfield.
Evil dies tonight.
Evil dies tonight. They're too busy next door.
So they go from Woodsboro, California to Haddonfield, Illinois. Okay, cool. They make
just a bus ride.
So like I'm of two minds about it, where I'm like, well, this seems kind of ridiculous when you consider Scream 4, because like wouldn't you increase staffing after the incident in Scream 4? But I'm like, that was also 10 years later, and I'm like, the hospital just went back to standards, which is like pretty lax.
Yeah.
Only 3 patients.
I just love Jenna Ortega's line when she's in the ambulance. Can you take us to a different hospital this time? I'm like, girl, get out of town, please.
Right.
I think the hospital, because you brought it up, the hospital scene, Ghostface when stalking Jenna Ortega is my favorite scene in the movie. There's some incredible framing and action beats in it, and just the when Ghostface walks out of the room, and for the first time we hear Ghostface in person because he turns on the thing.
Yeah, that was
so good.
Cool.
So good.
Multiple good hospital scenes, because you got the second one where like she's alone, but then you have the first one when Tara's in the hospital and Sam goes to visit her, and then she's like, "Why don't you come visit me?" Ghostface. He's like, "Yeah, I'd love to," and just kicks the door open.
That's so good,
and that's so
you're just not ready
unexpected.
for it. Yeah,
and like again, watching this again, I'm like, holy shit! It catches me off guard every time.
Yeah.
Because like you don't expect them to be in broad daylight like that. You psycho.
Much to your point, Brandon, that's a really excellent point, because this change of like where the voice box is in the mask is the first time that we're able to see Ghostface in action on the screen and talking at the same time.
It's a good point.
Usually Ghostface's voice comes over the phone, and then the killing is separate because they're doing the voice box by hand. So that's a really nice touch. I want to jump backwards because we're getting close to a point that I don't want to hit yet. I really like killing Stu's nephew. Yes, Stu's nephew early in the film, who's the piece of shit guy who was stalking Liv and everything, because one, it was given away in the trailer, so I'm glad we just got it out of the way early. He is the one kill that like feels a little separate. Yeah, but I'm also like, but it's fine because it's fine because it's like, again, like it was something they could give away in the trailer, and I'm like, fine, just get it done. Like, you don't care about him. It's not important to care about him. It's just like showing Ghost. And to their credit, it's a good kill. I like the use of Red Right Hand. It's the triumphant return of Red Right Hand.
And it's in the radio, so when the car turns off, it turns off before the chorus
and
starts.
then it turns off, and then they turn it back on when the stab happens, which is really good.
It's good.
Yeah.
I think honestly, but it also creates like a really good misdirect for people to be like, okay, well, why was he killed? Well, this doesn't make any sense. How is he related to all this? And then the reveal that he was related to Stu Macher is honestly pretty decent. It's well handled.
It is. I think so. There's specifically like 2 deaths. They're pretty close to each other too, that are rough. Two death scenes, I should say, because the killing of Judy and Wes is gosh.
And again, like another like subvert your expectation of who's gonna die first. Like Judy's hauling ass to save her baby boy taking a shower.
My partner brought this up. It's the first shower scene in the Scream franchise. Up until now, the Scream franchise has never had a shower scene, and I was thinking,
nope. Sorry, no. Scream 3, the very opening. Liev Schreiber's girlfriend Christine is in the shower because she slips on that water. Yes, we do. Ghostface calls Liev Schreiber
because she has her hair
and
up.
Says she's very pretty, Cotton, and walks in and looks at her, and she's inside the shower.
That's true.
Fair.
I commented, "Why is her hair not wet?" And then I learned girls sometimes don't wash their hair in the shower.
Fair. I'm not even going to dispute that. I'm just going to go on to my point. But like, what's really interesting about this one in particular is that, you know, shower scenes are really effective for horror. It's why horror uses them a lot. There's even like a shot that's because they mentioned Psycho and then cut to the faucet because it's very, very, very influential shower scene. shower scenes are really vulnerable for characters. They're very much like you can they're very much like you're completely exposed. You can't hear anything, so anybody can show up behind you. I have a lot of anxiety when I'm in the shower, is what I'm saying. So like when you're hearing the conversation with Judy and Ghostface overlapped with seeing Wes in the shower, you honestly think that Wes is going to get killed in the shower. That's what's going to happen. But because this movie is so brilliant, because this movie is playing with Scream tropes, it decides to subvert your expectations and waits a really long time before Wes eventually dies.
Right.
Using a lot of the same kind of tropes that we're playing with the shower scene, was, you know, opening the door with the music blaring, closing the door, no one there. They do that twice. It's honestly really cool.
They do the same thing with Jenna Ortega, though to a smaller degree in the opening of the first film too. There's a couple of shots that set up for like Ghostface is here. Nah, they're not.
Oh my God, it's like 5 full minutes of her opening something, closing something, opening a door. I was like, just
but all the more importantly about the Wes and Judy kill is that it's our second time of a kill in daylight in Scream. It almost never happens, and it's always very effective because one of the most shocking deaths in the franchise is Randy. Randy killed in broad daylight in the van in Scream 2, and that's the only other daylight kill in Scream.
Oh my God, he just stabs Judy right on her sidewalk. It's like, good morning.
I mean, I guess you can say technically Sarah's killed in daylight in Scream 3, but she's inside a building. It's a little a really dark studio building. It's
I don't count it.
But like out in broad daylight,
where people
like
can
this.
See.
And it's what makes it so shocking too, is because you're waiting for Wes to get it, and they're constantly like throwing you off, playing into horror tropes and everything. And then Judy gets it first. And then the tension of like Wes about to open the door, but he just shuts it. Brutal.
Great stab in the neck.
I'm so sad Wes died.
Like very,
I loved
like
Wes.
That physical, that practical like knife in the throat. Like, oh, it just bled.
Yeah. And a very ballsy, brutal killer. The way that they go at Judy just on her front lawn. I was to converge faster.
I was expecting Judy to die when she came back. I didn't want her to, but I was like, oh, you're probably gonna die. I'm not gonna like that part. But I was not expecting Wes to die that quick. I was expecting if Wes was going to die, or I mean he does, but I was thinking, okay, he's probably gonna die later in the movie. You're probably gonna think he's the killer or yada yada yada. But like when he's in the shower, he's like taking care of like setting up for sushi and everything. And you're right, the time when he's opened the door and closing it, I'm expecting Ghostface to be right there and be like, haha, surprise. But then he just like turns around and there they are. It's just like Shiv.
Yeah.
To me, that was very effective. And also it's like, okay, once again, just like every other Scream movie, all bets are off. Any one of them could be the killer. And I was just bummed because I liked Judy. I mean, she was a little creepy, but I still liked her.
Oh, she's like, not my baby boy. And I'm like, oh, Judy. I remember we used to hide in the shadows.
Yeah. It's rough. It's a brutal murder scene.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I'm going to jump over to the twins. I just want to touch on that. I'm really glad because this specifically in horror franchises, usually when you are casting someone who is harkening back to a previous generation, you usually try and cast someone who looks a lot like the original star.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really glad that they didn't feel the need to do that. These people can have the spirit of Randy, specifically Mindy.
Oh,
but they can be Randy's relatives without looking really anything like Randy, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little story? Can I tell you a fun story about Chad the first time I watched this movie?
Sure.
So Chad,
he thought he died.
No, the actor is from Love, Victor. And he's wonderful. I really like him and everything I've seen him in, and not just Love, Victor. He popped up in a few things shortly after Love, Victor premiered. But in the first season of Love, Victor, he's a douchebag. And like that actor looks like a douchebag, plays douchebag very well. And so like did that. So like for season 2 of Love, Victor aired, where he's not a douchebag anymore. He's friends now. And then this movie came out, and I'm like, I still see you as a douchebag. I still think of him as that douchebag from Love, Victor season 1 because he did it so well. So watching this, I was like, no. He's a nice guy in this one. I need to keep remembering that.
Some people, they just have resting bitch face, resting douchebag face. Like some people are just
resting jock face.
Resting jock face. Like they're born with it and they're perfect for these type of roles.
Yeah. And like the bit when he's talking to his girlfriend after making it's like I'm still not sure you're not the killer.
So
Kill.
I wanted to talk about that because that's like my favorite line he has. It's one of my favorite lines in the movie because you can tell it's him not sure how to walk himself back out of saying the sentence. So he's like, I guess I just have to say this whole sentence. I'm not entirely sure that you're not the killer. Couldn't find the other words to not say that.
I'm like 99% sure, but yeah.
Which, you know what? That's smart. That's very smart.
He's got a good.
You know what's
sister.
real stupid? When you're Randy's nephew is going out into the bushes of, again, Stu Macher's house and being like, oh, Liv's doing like a find me with the app bullshit.
See,
what
here's
are you
the
doing?
thing. He's half Randy, but he's still half Jock. And that half Jock's
half buzzed.
Yeah, and he's half buzzed. And he's like, I might be getting late soon. Give me a candlestick. I ain't scared.
But I do like that he takes the candlestick because it does show that like he is actually listening to Mindy. He's like, yeah, no, I'll take a weapon.
But he wouldn't be getting laid soon because, again, not entirely convinced they're not the killer.
Well, now I bet he feels bad, so he'll risk it for the biscuit.
Sure.
You know,
which is exactly what a killer, if Liv were the killer in this circumstance, would have done.
Like the whole time when he gets the notification from Liv, it's like, hey, here's my find me on my phone. I'm like, oh no. It's like there's a trap. That's good.
The second that he's outside, he looks on the app and she's right in front, and he looks on the ground, there's nothing there. You run, bro. You run. You run.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. You gotta be smarter, bro. You gotta be smarter.
I like that. I do like that he's trying to turn it off and then just chucks the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That is smart.
Yeah. He gets stabbed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the scene where Ghostface comes out of the shed.
Yeah.
And he's just crawling. He's like, ah, nah, and they just get stabbed. I actually thought he was dead. I cannot tell you the biggest sigh of relief I had when Minnie's coming out. She gives the thumbs up, and he gives the thumbs up in the ambulance. I'm like, oh, thank God, they're alive. They're both okay. Well, they're not okay. They both got stabbed, but
they survive though. Yeah.
I almost thought we were gonna get when Ghostface comes out of the shed and he looks back. I almost thought we were gonna get a you motherfucker.
Another callback.
Tyson's line. Yeah,
that would have been good.
I thought we were gonna get that.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk about. I want to talk about Dewey, but I don't want to talk about when Dewey gets killed yet. I want to talk about just like Dewey being reintroduced, which I think is really, really well done.
Yeah.
The way we pick up with him, the fact that he's very hesitant to get involved, and then he calls Sid,
but he texts Gail.
And when he calls Sid, it's like he's just like saying, "Don't come here. Don't do any of this. I don't want you to be a part of this. Don't put yourself at risk."
Do you have a gun?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course, I got a gun. But it's the part where she says, "Dewey, whoever this killer's after, I'm glad they have you to protect them." And then you see the change in David Arquette's face when he's like, oh, I should protect these kids. And it's like, oh, Dewey, you're too good because you're too pure.
Because he says like, yeah, I'm fine. And then Sydney's like, well, because I know who you are. That's why I'm asking, are you actually fine?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's cool.
There's such a good... we've seen them like come back and reunite. I know you guys, some of you like Ben haven't lived with the franchise the whole time, so the time distance isn't the same. But like, I think you could even tell like going back to Scream 4, we've seen these characters like be apart for a long time and come back together.
It's been 25 years.
There's something more wistful and sorrowful, and I do think it's just age for them at this point that it is far more like the way that they come back into each other's lives, how that feels. Notably, like the Dewey Gale scene is super emotional and tough because at this point that they were filming in real life, David Arquette and Courtney Cox had split up.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd met on the Scream film. So the emotionality for this, and I think there's a lot of like, I'm pretty sure they mentioned somewhere that they kind of let them take the reins of what that scene was going to be. Like they wrote like a framework and then let them just kind of drive.
Because they really only have one big scene together, but it is it is like an important scene and kind of the only scene you really need for this movie because it gives you all the context of the last 10 years for them.
And and if you go into like real quick, Brandon, if you go into like the real life stuff, like David Arquette very, very publicly and very personally takes a lot of responsibility for why they didn't work out and like problems with his own overcoming issues and addictions and things like that. And and that there's still a strong friendship and acknowledgement between the two of them, but like their relationship just didn't work out after all that time. And I think that they really worked that into the scene very well. It's very, very emotional because
feels real.
It feels very, very real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I really like. Sorry, Ben, real quickly. I just think that the scene works so well because like David Arquette had retired from acting for quite a while in between 4 and 5 to become a wrestler, I think it was. And he hadn't really done something like this for so long, and he really brings it in that scene specifically when he's talking to Gail. I think two things I want to mention just real quickly is that one, I really like the change of Courtney Cox's Gail, where she's like, I'm not here for them. Yeah, that's I had to do that. I'm here because of you. I want to make sure that you're okay. And like, that's very clear. Like, she's very sincere about that. She's not lying. She's not putting on a face. She's like, this is why I'm here. I'm not here for any other reason than to find out if you're okay. And then Dewey has this moment where he's like, you think I don't know that? You think I don't know I'm the one who left? And like, he brings up, like, I left in the middle of the night. I couldn't hack it in New York. And like, that's a really powerful moment for the two of them. Like, emotions are already really high because Judy has just died, but like the two of them are really just bringing it in that moment. And it's such a powerful scene to have together. And honestly, the film would be weaker if they never got to have that scene.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It really makes regardless of like the fact that at this point, like they're really trying to reflect their real lives, where in like the previous ones, it's much more like what's accurate of the characters rather than necessarily what's happening to David Arquette and Courtney Cox in real life. This one is being reflective of real life, but even taking that into account, over the 5 films, you don't see relationships like this in horror films a lot, or in films in general, where like it's over multiple films and it's not necessarily like they got together and it all worked out, but it's constantly like there's something here and they just constantly are struggling to make it work. Because of the things they want in life, yet they both know that they really care about each other.
They have such a love for each other, but they're just such different people. It's like it's almost impossible to make it work. And no matter how hard they try. And
you really just don't see relationships like that on film, period. But especially in a horror film, it's so rare.
Yeah. I think my favorite, real quick, my last thing on this, when she's like, Dewey, you're a lot of things, but you are not a coward, is maybe my favorite line from Gail. Because like, you are right, Brandon. Like in all these other movies, like she is so about herself. But like, it does feel like she did she came here because her job told her to, but she knew Dewey would be here. And like, that is the number one reason. And like, you feel her love for him, which makes everything that happened even more sad.
Yeah. Ben, you are trying to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just glad that they keep evolving and moving with the Dewey and Gail relationship. I was really happy to see, because like Scream 2, it didn't work because of like and for Scream 1, I thought she was just like trying to mess with them so she'd get a good scoop. Scream 2, okay, they had a relationship, didn't work out, but then they rekindled the flame. Scream 3, same thing, had a relationship, didn't work out, rekindled the flame. Scream 4, yay, they're married. I'm so happy they actually had a happy ever after. When we first meet Dewey in his trailer, I'm like, Dewey, what happened?
Yeah.
My sweet boy.
The bit where he's just, why aren't you in uniform? I retired. Since when? Since they asked me to.
Oh,
I mean, they essentially tell you everything. I mean, I'm glad this is one of those things where they tell me and not showing me is actually okay, because of course we're here because there's a killer on the loose and and people are dropping like flies. But I still want to know what happened between Dewey and Gail. And every single Scream movie where at the end of the movie they get together, then they separate in the beginning of the next one, they tell you what happened. They tell you why things didn't work out, and it's a very quick all you need to know, and then they move on. And I knew that at this point David Arquette and Courtney Cox weren't together at this point. I didn't look anything else past that, but seeing them on screen, seeing Gail or Courtney Cox play Gail, that she still loves Dewey, that she still cares about him, and David Arquette the same way, I'm like, oh, that's nice. Because I feel like with a lot of Hollywood relationships where they meet on set, they get together, then they divorce X amount of time later, there's nothing but animosity there. So you get really nervous that, oh, we need these two characters, but the actors hate each other. They can't be on set together. Is there going to be a fight? Do you have to have like a mediator on set to make sure that everything is okay and they can do their jobs?
Yeah.
But just hearing that story where they're like, no, they're still friends. I mean, they're not married anymore, but they still have a love and respect for each other to an extent. It's like, oh, that just makes Dewey's death all the more painful.
Right. Now, I want to talk about Dewey though. Like, just in the beginning because like Dewey's my favorite character of the franchise, and one of the things that I really like in recent years is what I maybe wrongly call the Last Jedi effect, which is the second time this movie has come up, but like, which is that kind of like this kind of grizzled hero, kind of down on his luck, not really where we remember him being. And I think Willow recently did it, which I really enjoy the TV series Willow with Warwick Davis, and now Dewey is kind of in that same space, and I really respond well to that storyline, to that kind of trope that's evolved over the years, and I really appreciate that what they do here is that it's not necessarily that Dewey has rejected the world around him. It's just that he has other priorities now. He doesn't want to deal with Woodsboro, with the killers of Woodsboro anymore. He's like, look, I did that 4 times. I got stabbed twice. I've got so many stab marks here, and like he'll gladly give like, yeah, I'll tell you that it's your boyfriend, but I'm not going to help you. But because he is such a good person, and it's the phone call with Sid that really unlocks it, because he probably would have gotten there eventually, but it's the phone call with Sid that really like triggers Stewie to be like, no, I can't. These kids need me. I can't do this without. But he's still goofy Dewey, because when he's in the room, he's just like, maybe you're the killer because that hurt.
Yeah, okay,
that's a good line.
You're jumping to a lot of things I definitely want to touch on. So first one I'll jump to is that when Dewey, what I love is that Dewey's theme kicks in when he shows up at the Meek's house and is ready to like he's there because he wants to help. He's cleaned up and he's ready. He wants to help, and it's really nice because also this is the first Scream movie not composed by Marco Beltrami, but instead by Brian Tyler. And Brian Tyler came in and brought a lot of those old themes back where they were appropriate. Most notably, Dewey's theme here, and you'll hear the classic like Sydney's theme when she's first going through Stu's house later in the film.
They bring back the opera.
Yeah,
I noticed that.
Yeah. And I really like it. I think Brian Tyler makes a really great score here.
I agree.
Really, really like it. So I was really happy that Dewey's theme came back. Notably, I want to jump back. There are 2 deleted scenes related to Dewey that one of them I kind of wish was in the movie, but it's not in the movie because of the other one. And the one that I wish was in the movie is that Judy actually, once the first attack happens, after that, she talks to Dewey and she says, I want you to help me with this because you have experience. And Dewey says no. And so it's that Dewey refused Judy on helping this before he even refuses the kids.
Yeah.
And then refuses the kids, and then it's the Sid call. It just makes it like an extra level of like how removed Dewey wanted to be from this situation. And that, but the reason that scene's not in there is because the reason Judy's talking to him at first is because she has to bring him in because he got into a bar fight instead of Chad. He gets into a bar fight with Stu's nephew when they're getting hassled by him in the scene. Dewey steps up and gets into a hassle, and it's actually a nice moment between the twins and Dewey for him standing up for them, but he gets because they have an altercation right before that kid gets killed. That's the reason Judy brings him in to talk to him initially and then talks to him about helping. And because they decide that bar scene doesn't work, and I agree, I don't think Dewey needed to be there for it. That's why the other scene doesn't happen. But I'm like, oh man, I kind of wish we had the Judy talking to Dewey about this thing.
Yeah.
Awful. And then now in the scene you're talking about, Brandon, that is also one of my favorite lines, which is where Wes is like, well, I think these are the reasons why you'd be the killer, Dewey. And he's like, well, maybe you're the killer because that cut deep.
So sad. Poor Dewey.
That's a really good moment.
Poor Dewey.
I really like the Randy Meeks memorial, which has like
a
picture of him and everything.
Yeah.
And then the Stab box set is just sitting as part of that because it's well, Randy would want that.
They're a weird family. Like, I get it.
They understood what Randy loved, and Randy loved horror movies. It's like he's immortalized in film. It's kind of perfectly, apparently.
And they're like, even what I think it was a Chad who mentions like, you're gonna watch a movie where her uncle gets killed, and she's like, she doesn't die in this one.
Yeah. I love, like we talked about her briefly, but like Mindy's like monologue about requels and like the rules and like everything. Like that is wow, you really are related to Randy. Like you might as well be his son, the way you're just like spouting off everything he would say 25 years later. Really great, totally makes sense with, legacy sequels, all that stuff. Just again, like really smart. I wonder, this is not gonna, Wes Craven would have been really, really old if he made this movie, right? And I'm curious if having having modern, considerably younger writers and directors helped elevate this idea more than potentially it could have been with an older director.
That's a really good
that's not
point.
It would have been bad, but I look at what Scream 4 was even at that time, and I'm wondering would an 80-year-old man would have been able to deliver this exact type of thing, and I'm curious.
I think that's a really good point, because there's a level of dialogue that I noticed in this film, even the first time, that like it feels really authentic to kids these days. And we've talked many times on this podcast about how older comic book writers lose touch with writing kid characters because they don't sound like kids anymore. They just sound like an 80-year-old man writing a child.
Absolutely.
And I think that I can't say whether or not Wes Craven or Kevin J. Williamson would have been able to write these kids authentically. I can't say that because they didn't. They didn't write this movie. But I do think probably it helped that these were younger people, a lot closer to the generation that they're writing about, and it helps them feel a lot more authentic. And maybe that really helped the movie.
Yeah, I do think, and especially because it is a legacy thing, like it helps to have people who grew up like making the legacy movie.
Yeah.
I think that's actually really important. Again, like no matter how you feel about it, I think like a Force Awakens type of thing like is important. Like that's the movie that needed to come out at that time. And I feel very much the same way kind of about 5cream. Like, man, this is like perfect. The time it came out with the directors that it came out, like this was like the perfect little cake.
I agree with that.
Yeah. More murders happen in this movie.
I did want to touch it. Just I really appreciate Tatum's ashes on Dewey's mantle.
Yeah,
I thought that was a nice
Dewey's sister?
just touch. Yeah, Dewey's sister. Hasn't really been acknowledged that the imprint that left on Dewey since Scream 2. So that was nice.
Yep.
I was trying to look it up because I realized I should have tried to look for this before we recorded, but Randy, I can't remember. Randy mentions who plays him and he's disappointed in Stab.
Yes.
And I'm kind of bummed that it's not that person when we see Randy in the Stab movie.
Oh, it was like an actor.
Because it is like an actor we would know, and like it's not him. It's just somebody else.
I was thinking about that because that's the first time we've seen this scene from Stab 1.
And I was like, it's a bummer
because
is surprising. He definitely mentions it in Scream 2 that he's upset because like David Schwimmer plays Dewey.
Yes.
And he's like, and then I got somebody else and I forget who, but
I'm curious. I'm sure the guy who was in that Stab movie is probably some like friend actor of theirs, but like it is interesting that like we've had Heather Graham and like Luke Wilson, like Tori, like we didn't get some type of like minor celebrity in that role for this movie. Like it is kind of like almost like a missed opportunity, but it doesn't.
I do actually really like that we see that scene from Stab 1. I kind of agree with you, Sparks. Like it does suck that this is the first time that scene has been seen, which means it's the first time it's been filmed. And so like it does it's kind of a bummer, but I like that we didn't just see the same scenes from Stab 1, like the opening or the stuff with Luke Wilson. We see a new scene from Stab 1, and it creates a really nice parallel between what's actually happening to Mindy and what she's seeing on the screen. And it creates a funny moment.
She's sitting in the same goddamn room.
The same scene. And it's good because she realizes she's about to get got.
Turn around, Randy.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, wait.
I feel something in the air.
Okay, let's talk about Dewey's death.
Boom, boom, boom.
Well, before we do that real quick, I want to just say all the kills in this movie are great.
All the kills in the movie are great. Dewey's death is earned. I have a problem with it. And it's that for me, it commits a cardinal sin of the Scream films. And like, I really looked at it and I looked at some other scenes last night to see like, do I really feel like this? And yes. Amber could not have possibly killed Dewey. Just couldn't have. And I know that that's what has to have happened, but it's not possible. She's physically not tall enough to be the ghost face in that scene, but I know that she has to be. But it's my one problem is that I'm like, I am convinced of every killer being the person who's behind the killing in all the other kills in the Scream franchise. You just can't convince me that Amber killed Dewey.
So this is a thing where like one line or one showing of her wearing like 2-foot boots to make her tall, because that is a like extremely short Jenna Ortega style lady.
David Arquette is tall, and so is Jack Quaid.
Yeah.
And when he's helping Richie along after Richie's been hurt, they are the same height, and then Ghostface comes in and is also the same height, and Amber is down to Jack Quaid.
She's like 5'1",
and I'm like, nope, sorry.
Yeah,
no,
she tiny.
Amber did not kill Dewey. I mean, I get it, but no.
Ben,
that's
no. I was going to say
it's hard
that
for me to accept it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Amber is way too tiny. I agree, but at the same time, one of my favorite shots in this movie that also got me because I had a feeling Dewey was gonna die in this movie. The second he comes on screen, it's like, oh no, Dewey's gonna bite it, isn't he? Because we know Courtney Cox is gonna live thanks to the trailer for Scream 6 or Screevy.
Well, you knew that. You knew that.
I knew
we
that.
did it when we first watched this.
Yeah, I knew that. But just watching Dewey die at the hands of Ghostface and Ghostface say it's an honor, and there's that imposing shot of Ghostface just like looking down at Dewey's body, because this is the one who got him. Almost every other Ghostface tried and failed. This is the one that got him. I mean, I agree it shouldn't be Amber, but still, it's a very powerful shot on how Dewey has survived so many times, but his number unfortunately came up.
Yeah,
I think it's a really important.
Yes today comment. Yeah.
Yes today is a good comment. I think it's really important for a legacy sequel to kill a legacy character, especially in such a long running franchise like this. And like at this point, we've talked to death. You can't kill Sidney Prescott. It would be quite frankly unfair. No. But like, Dewey is the perfect person to kill. Especially this Dewey, who the Dewey they framed. They built a story arc around him that has to end with his death. And I think it's very well executed, and I think it's very well done. And while I was really upset that my favorite killer finally bit the bullet, my favorite character finally kicked the bullet, I'm really happy with it, and I think it's exceptionally well done and exceptionally brutal. The stab through the chest and then the stab in the back in the same wound area, and then just go up. Excellent kill. I just
and the
it's so good.
Spill out like no coming back from this one, Dewey.
Yeah,
and like because they make it clear, I think real quickly, Sparks, just real quickly. They make it very clear because Dewey has survived stabbings before, he won't survive this one.
Right. Real quick, I'll just acknowledge real quick because I don't know that he's aware. Brandon, you are on a little bit of a delay, I think. But that's okay because we're working around it. And so what I acknowledge all that. I think it's all really great. I wish there were any way that it could have been Richie being the killer for that scene, because then it would be like, this makes complete perfect sense. But the problem that I see with that is that's also the scene that convinced me Richie might not be the killer.
Yeah.
And I feel like it has to be there to do that. Because up to that, he feels very suspect, and it does throw me off when he's in that scene. So it's like, yeah, I guess that's more important. But it is very much like when Amber was revealed, I remember, and I can't let go of it. That
It's like
you just couldn't have. You just physically.
It's just a problem when like you see a Ghostface killer and he's like 6 foot tall, and then the next second you see Amber and she's 5'2". It's just like, give her boots. Just give her boots. That's all you had to do for me. Just give her boots. She's so small, y'all.
It would have honestly added stuff because like they thought about it so that like you really wouldn't look at Amber because Amber's short. Yeah.
And I really like Amber as she is just pure psycho. I think her performance is awesome. It was so good it drove Brandon off the call. He's having some internet issues, I'm sure. But yeah, it is, and it's not honestly like that big of a deal for me, but it is just a thing of like you were so on top of everything else. Like her losing a foot every time she takes that mask off is like, it's noticeable. Right. It's just very, very noticeable.
Yes.
But again, it's like, it's still a great movie. Like I just wish like that could have been one little like she takes her boots off and she shrinks a foot.
Yeah,
that would have been funny.
Yeah, and it's just it's very damning only because like in that sequence again you have like Richie next to Dewey and they're both tall, and then Ghostface is also that height, and you're like okay, and then they're like Amber did it, and I'm like did she? Okay, Brandon's back, and with Brandon back, I definitely want to acknowledge another point about Dewey's thing that I really like. And one of my favorite things about the Dewey thing is one of the reasons he goes back is because he says, you got to get him in the head. If you don't get him in the head, it's not done, which is great because that's a lesson Dewey had to learn more than once in the previous Scream films. So I'm really glad that that's something they circle back to. Yeah. And that was the thing. Like he's going back and it's like, it doesn't matter, Dewey. And he's like, does to me.
Does to me.
It's really good. It's really good. It's a good send-off moment to the character.
If only he didn't take, if he only just like would have just like not had to get all the way up very close to shoot him from a distance.
And also importantly, like Sydney coming back, especially with that call, it didn't make sense. Why would Sydney put herself in that situation if she didn't have to? Killing Dewey as the thing that makes her come back makes 1000% sense. That is the only thing that could get Sydney to come.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, hopefully I'm not a delay anymore, but him walking out of the elevator and towards Ghostface and clicking out the bullets and then putting in the reload is a really excellent scene. I really like that.
Yeah, very cowboy. He goes out very cowboy. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I think Courtney Cox does a really great job in not just like the immediate aftermath, but the rest of the film carrying the weight of having lost Dewey.
Yeah.
I think that's very good and there in her performance. Talk a little bit about Sydney. I love Neve Campbell. I'm glad she's here. I think she's here in the appropriate amount of this movie.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't steal anyone's thunder.
No.
It's nice to have her here. It feels like it is bringing something full circle to a sense, but this movie is not hers. Her arc is done, and she's just kind of here to clean up the pieces because her friend was killed, and I think that really, really works.
She's like a badass in this one. Like, she comes in and like, yo, I've done this for 20 years.
I'm just going, like, I don't care if you're the killer or not. You come out of hiding or I'm shooting the door.
She's just shooting every single door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's hope no one's behind there.
So
and she actually shoots the killer, which is so brilliant. Because she hangs up right before she shoots the gun. So good.
Like definitely knowing that that's Jack Quaid's Richie, and he's hiding and he's doing the got you this time, Sydney. Are you ready? This isn't gonna be like the other times. She's like, I'm bored now. He's like, no, wait, and then she shoots and she gets him, and it's like, God, Richie, you suck. That's the thing is like, what I love about Richie is once Richie's revealed, he's so goddamn pathetic.
Yeah. Like the whole movie, like even the scene where Dewey dies, I was convinced Richie wasn't the killer because I'm like, how? Because he was in Modesto, he was somewhere else. There's no way he could have harmed, he could have killed or attacked Jenna Ortega. He could have attacked Tara or all these other things. It's like, yeah, it can't be him. It has to be Amber. And then when he stabs Sydney, it's like, oh, we did that reveal. It's like, oh, I'm trapped. Psych.
I absolutely love the Amber reveal where she just shoots Liv. She's like, welcome to Act 3. Love it. Love the crest, the zoom in.
It's very much a new, I'm really glad they didn't feel the need to repeat the line, but it has the same energy as Billy's. We all go a little mad sometimes. I'm not the killer. I know. Welcome to Act 3.
Yeah.
And then you get
so
Richie,
good.
you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Richie's really, really good with that.
Oh shit, it's Ghostface.
That's a great line.
What?
Because once we get to the house, the oh shit, it's Ghostface line is really funny because like at that point he's hit like it's mass drop. He's become like, it's kind of the same thing that like Emma Roberts is doing in Scream 4, where like her acting got more wooden as the movie got on because she was being gonna be revealed as the killer. And so like the same thing happens here. Is like the oh shit it's Ghostface line is so badly delivered because it's intentionally badly delivered because he's supposed to be badly reacting to something that he knew was going to happen.
I love that like both of these goobers like they almost feel like, wow, this plan is going really well. Like every time something happens, like, man, this went super well. Wow.
Oh, I did. Thank you. You brought up plans going really well. I remember this was a personal experience, and I was really curious, Ben, maybe you had this feeling. You would remember it more immediately. When I first watched it in theaters and it got to the killer fighting Dewey thing, there was a part of me that thought, maybe this isn't Dewey's death scene. Maybe we're taking out a killer now.
Yeah.
Which we also haven't done in a Scream film.
I was hoping that I was like, are we actually going to unmask and kill one killer and then hunt down the second one? Because like you said, that's never happened in the Scream movie before. And I was like, come on, I want to see who it is. I want to see. And then the phone rings, and then the killer, and then Amber just jumps up and stabs. I'm like, no, Dewey, no.
I gotta say that like that would be, if that ever happened, will be this. In my opinion, will be the Scream movie that finally has 3 killers, and I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the 3 killer movie.
It's gonna be a theater troupe. I promise you watch.
I definitely feel like if enough Scream movies get made, you're gonna get to the point, because they are fallible human characters, where like one of them their plan doesn't go well and they get caught midway through the film. And you as an audience know, all right, they got them all, but the characters have to wonder, was there just one for a period of time? Because now they don't know, especially if they kill the killer first instead of revealing them.
Screevy, answer our prayers.
Even if it's not this one, I'm convinced there will be another past Scream 6 at this point. And as long at some point, I think in the length of these films, you're going to get to the point where like one killer gets revealed early and you're like, okay, so there's one more killer or are there two more killers?
Listen, Scream 9 is going to be like the Truman Show and everybody in the town's the killer but one person.
Holy shit.
That's the future.
That's a lot of killing.
That's a lot of killing.
Yeah. Okay. Really, really good. Love Richie's review. Ben, you caught that Sydney's married to Patrick Dempsey?
I had a feeling because I forgot because I remember Patrick Dempsey's character being Kincaid. I forgot what his first name was.
Yeah, Marc.
But when they were talking about how's Marc, I'm like, that's Patrick Dempsey, right? I hope it is.
Yes.
And it turns out it is.
She got married and had kids with Marc.
Multiple kids. Look at that. Good for them.
Yeah.
And you can't get back Patrick Dempsey.
Which is great. What I love about that is because nothing in Scream 4 conflicts with that.
Yeah.
Just because they don't talk about Marc, Sydney wasn't living in Woodsboro. She was just there on the book tour. So it doesn't break any continuity for them to say that she was still with Marc since Scream 3, which I really, really like. I'm glad that they found the loophole to add that into the continuity and didn't break it.
And it gives her some happiness. Like, she deserves.
Yeah, because she was on her book tour. It could be that she was still dating Marc when Scream 4 was going on, but she was still in LA being a cop, and she was like, you know what, I got a book tour to go, and then they're like, cool, honey, have fun.
Yeah. So the finale happens. We got Amber, Richie.
Oh, they do a very good job with the camera. Like if you are paying attention, especially if you knew, like we'd all seen it once before, Ben. So watching it again, like, oh, it is clearly Stu's house. Like they're hiding it well with some camera angles, but like if you are an eagle-eyed paying attention, you are catching the small details of like this is Stu's goddamn house.
We watched it.
I'm sorry, Ryan. I am actually very mad at myself that I didn't catch it was Stu's house until they revealed that it was Stu's house.
Well, that's what's so brilliant. So, real quickly, Ben, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt because the movie is so good at hiding it because it's all when we first see it, it's in the dark and we never see outside of it, and we only get a couple of locations. The biggest kind of question mark is when they're in the living room and they're like, oh, wait a second, this kind of looks familiar.
They show Randy in Stab in the living room in the exact same orientation with the doorway and everything, and then they cut to the living room that they're watching the movie on before they reveal Stu's house, and it's like that's the same goddamn living room.
and so what I think is so brilliant is that, like you, Ben, when I first saw this movie, I didn't catch that it was Stu's house. And what's so brilliant about that is the film franchise up until this point has never gone back to that house. And I think it's great that they decided in this one, well, yeah, it could be considered a little fan servicey. It's done in a way where the reveal gives you chills because you're like, oh shit, we're back. And because you have the same reaction that like Gail and Sydney have, where like, oh wait, where are we going?
Importantly, though, to your point, Brandon, I think that there's something to be said for the fact that they are still working with the knowledge again that Scream 3 occurred. So Sydney's character doesn't have to be as thrown by the location. Like it's not as traumatic triggering for her because that already happened when she went to the set that very detailed recreated the house. So she's already had her moment of like, oh God, I'm back here. So it doesn't phase her as much this time, which really works for her character, for her to come in and be like, I'm not playing. Like there's still the theme. She's still a little like, this is the real place, but it doesn't have to like completely throw her off kilter.
It's so fantastic because again, Sydney and Gail have been through this for 20 years at this point. When Amber comes running out, help me please, they're both like, this is bullshit.
That's a trap.
I love that scene. I absolutely love that. Amber comes out, I've been stabbed. I was like, what do you think? Trap. F this, and she starts shooting.
I love Amber too because she's like, oh, you ain't buying it, whatever, bang bang. Like
I really like that whole moment. The idea that like Sydney just comes in and is just like, I'm done. I've done this too many times. I'm just gonna go in shooting.
Bad teenage acting here. I've seen it before.
It's a really, really well executed reveal of the house. I love the way that the camera pans out on Sam, tilts as it's like, oh shit, we're here. I also really love it as motivation that Amber reveals later as like, ever since her family bought the house, she's been obsessed. And that's a good foundation. Like that's a good foundation for where her obsession and sickness with this really began, is because she lives in the same dang house.
Yeah, and Amber being, a teenager, a child, terrible, sick thoughts, right? And there's a thought in the world where like, if she never met Richie, maybe none of this would have been fulfilled. But because she met an adult man who helped propagate these disgusting things that she believed in, like, oh, we have similar interests. Why don't we do something about this? He created a little monster that he can help
And sleep with.
Ugh, her calling him babe. Oh, that's disgusting.
The thing that I love about Richie and Amber as the killers is because it's such a for me it's exactly the kind of Scream movie, the Scream killers that I think should have been, which is what if true fans were so fanatical that they decided to take matters into their own hands. I mean, it's like what if Star Wars fans were this bad? What if Terminator fans were this bad? What if Halloween fans were this bad? Like, we see it all the time in internet discourse of these kind of like incel fans taking things too far. Well, what if they took things this far? And it's not really that far of a stretch to think about it. So it's like, it's such a brilliant move to do, in my opinion, because with my own like opinions on fandom, oftentimes being so negative, being like, because they don't care about the true fans. We're the true fans of Stab. I'm like, yeah, you are. You're a psychopath.
Yeah, these guys really were like the perfect killers for our time and for this movie. Like, them being like, they don't understand the franchise like we do.
Yes.
Like, it's so funny. Oh, the best line, it's like, and they say fandom is toxic. Give me a break. We love it too much for it to be toxic. Like, bro, you're killing people for it.
It's the fans' churn. I think what's so fascinating about their motivation is, like, all the previous ones have wanted to be like come out on top in some way. And they're not really about that.
It's not about them. It's not about them.
But they don't care about that. They care about the movie that will be adapted out of these events.
Yeah.
That's all they care about. They don't actually even care about these events themselves. They just want the movie version of these events.
Yeah.
That they think will be perfect because that's how they got to write it themselves. And I'm like, that's so
twisted.
They
what we talk about, like, oh, we don't want our favorite franchise to end on a sour note. Like, all right, cool. We'll kill a bunch of people to make them make a new one that'll be good. Like, wow, that is really smart.
And the idea of like bringing back Billy Loomis's daughter as the killer, like that's what they're like. Stab doesn't have a Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, but we can create that with Billy Loomis's daughter coming back to be these villains. Like they don't want to be the main characters of this movie. They want to frame the movie and create. I mean, they say that we're making our own Stab 8, or they're making their own Stab 8 because they felt betrayed. They felt so betrayed by the 8th Stab film that they just took matters into their own hands. And it's such a brilliant move.
You always go back to the original, which is what legacy sequels always do. Right. And like, again, if this were a different franchise, randomly introducing the first killer's illegitimate daughter who sees a ghost of him would be nonsense. But it's a Scream, and like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Everything makes sense. Everything's always connected like this.
I also do want to point out real quick, like the Stab 8 stuff with the flamethrower and stuff. I do think it's making a comment on like horror movies and stuff in general.
TV show, that too.
I also think it's taking a little bit of a whack at the last season of the TV show, where things like got a little out of hand.
Didn't he have a weird mask, or was that the first?
No. The first 2 seasons have a weird mask, and I think the first 2 seasons are good up to the first season's good. The second season is good up to a point, and then they reveal who the killer is, and it makes no goddamn sense. Okay. And then the third one, they bring back Ghostface, the mask. But they don't establish it in the continuity of the Stab films or anything. They make a whole new thing, but it is the original mask, and they bring back Roger L. Jackson as the voice.
That's cool.
Yes, it was, except that then they kind of do nothing good with it. It all just kind of meanders, and then they end up like really bastardizing a lot of stuff. It's a real shame. It's a bummer that I have to say that season sucks because Keke Palmer's in that season. And that season sucks.
Yeah.
But I do think it's also a little bit of a jab of like, we kind of let Scream get a little away from us.
MTV Scream.
Well, what's so funny to me is that like Stab 5 has time travel, but Stab 8 was the one that crossed the line.
Yeah.
There it is. That is funny.
That is pretty funny, right?
Because they're always talking about real quick, like how like a Scream 3 is talking about Stab 3. Is Scream 5 technically dealing with time travel because Billy Loomis is in this movie?
They did it.
But you know what I mean.
No, I get you.
Yeah. Not actual time travel.
Sure.
They did
I hear you. it's funny because like we're talking about the like the anger about the flamethrower being brought in that they express and that kind of stuff, and I'm like, look at the damn Scream 6 trailer reaction where we've had like Scream fans being like, he's using a shotgun.
1,000,000%.
What?
Every movie has guns.
1,000,000%. But like, I mean, and they even like pointedly like bring out like Star Wars fans because they say like, you know, the Knives Out guy directed Stab 8, and like they're pointing at them being like, this is kind of what you guys are doing. And then for the trailer for Scream 6 to have the controversies, the ridiculous controversy around Ghostface using a shotgun is basically them being like, see, we were right.
Yeah, they're I feel like they're kind of poking the bear at everybody.
I think so too. And that's what I like about it, because it's not I mentioned in the beginning, it's like, you know, I do think there's an accidental kind of the Last Jedi, kind of a Last Jedi apology in this movie, but it is really just like, it is just pointing at toxic fandom in a way and taking it to the extreme of like fandom has kind of gotten to this point where because they say they met on message boards, like that kind of message board fandom, those keyboard warriors, those incel fandoms that we see being radicalized by the right, that we're seeing in real life. What if they were stab villains? And it's such a brilliant idea, because you're right, Sparks. It is taking a jab at everyone, because we're seeing that type of fandom in every aspect of fandom. Doesn't matter if it's just Star Wars, Star Trek, Terminator, whatever. It's everywhere now. And so it's just kind of like, well, here's the stab fandom doing it now.
Yeah. To that point, I think that this film does a really good job acknowledging like the current horror pop culture. But again, I feel like it's going after just the film pop culture in general.
Yeah.
Correctly so. And I will say, I think it does it the best since the original. I think it is the most good, like even putting them in their context. I think that this one is the most like capturing what it was doing at poking at what is going on and being the movie that it is, as much as the original was.
Yeah.
And I think they do a really good job of that.
Yeah.
Richie's great. I love how pathetic he's revealed to be. He's so the worst white male piece of shit ever.
I love that he has one last thing to say before he dies, and he's like, what about my movie?
Yeah, what about my ending?
Bro, get shot in the face.
By the way, Sam does the
Tara and Sam. Yeah, Sam does the Billy
Bro,
Loomis.
I and your mom both went ooh when that happened, because it's so sick.
It's so good.
It's so
It
good.
is pretty good.
I don't know why I love it.
Yeah. I really love the finale. I love that they it's time to pass the torch. Enjoy your torch. When they burn Amber up.
And of course she comes back and she starts screaming, and then Tara shoots her. She goes, I still prefer the Babadook.
It's so good.
Amber being burned is a really good, because it's like time to pass the torch, and then she turns on the flame. So good.
Because she gets hit with a bottle of vodka, and it's like, oh, look at that setup payoff, baby.
Oh, a note I did want to give about Richie is that what I also love, Ben, if you do a rewatch of this one at some point and you know Richie's the killer, you'll notice that every single time that someone suggests that Richie could potentially be the killer, Richie immediately like finds the moment where they've suggested something and he's like, well, you're the killer because you said that. Like Richie's defense is always, well, that sounds like something the killer would say, and like that's always what he goes to. He does that 3 or 4 times in the movie. And it's really funny to me because like he's so bad at this that he couldn't think of a better defense ever if he was ever pointed at. He was like, well, you're the killer.
Despite being the younger person, Amber seems to be like, she's more on top of it. It seems she also seems like just they're both fully unhinged, but she's like she's got that young unhingedness.
Well, I mean, like Richie has this moment where he says, like, you should have listened to Dewey because he got it in one. He nailed it. Look at the boyfriend, and he looks at Tara, Sam. And he looks at Sam, and he's got this thing and he got this moment where he talks about how like it wasn't easy. It was easy to get with you and sleep with you, and he looks at that like that because like this whole thing is he's actually been an incel in disguise. And Jesus, guys, remember She-Hulk? Remember the same scene happened in She-Hulk? Like incredible. Like there's just such a great reveal of being like of what that kind of person is. A really great representation of what that kind of person sees, how they see themselves, how they kind of see themselves as like morally superior, but really in fact they're incredibly ridiculous and the lowest of the low, which goes back to Richie. Whenever he's confronted by anyone, constantly points fingers at other people, and And, it's so pathetic that when he's dying, he's just like, what about my ending? By the way, again, going back to kind of rewatching Whodunits, whenever Richie whenever someone calls Richie or sees Richie doing something, he's always watching something about Stab.
Yeah.
Not for research, which he plays off as, because he's a Stab fanatic.
Right.
Love it.
Real quick, I've got 2 last notes here before we head into final thoughts. I love Judy's line. I prefer animated films and musicals.
Yeah.
I'm like, of course you do, Judy. Of course you do.
Well done, Judy.
And also, I really love the reveal that Sam untied Tara. That she wasn't convinced by him.
That's
the
great.
thing that really undoes them is that she believed in her.
Because up till that point, I again, like my first time seeing it, I was not convinced that Tara was not a killer. Because again, she got stabbed a lot, but also all these killers love to stab themselves to make it look like they got hurt, right? So like that closet scene where Tara's like, are you going to untie me? What's happening right now? I'm like, yo, I don't know what's about to happen. It was really good.
I will say the only reason, and it'll be true going forward of all Scream films, that I wasn't convinced it was Tara is because Scream films have never done the thing where they've like lied to the audience by showing you the killer pretend to get hurt as though they were a victim.
Gotcha.
When it's not for anyone else's benefit. Like, yes, we've seen Jill beat herself up, but we knew she was the killer.
Yes.
And why she was doing it. They've never like put on airs
for
no one except you as an audience to fake you out. And I don't think they would. That was the reason why I was like, that'd be really weird if they dedicated that long of a scene to Tara being the killer.
Sure.
But I get why you thought that, but I was just saying like that's something that I'm really glad the Scream franchise.
Because like I'm looking at the motivations for everyone and like Tara could have had motivations like, oh, you abandoned me and look what you did to my family. So like there's motivations for everyone, but like I do agree with you about that. Yeah.
A lot of times when someone gets like really hurt, like Tara got hurt, I knew she wasn't going to be the killer. It was a good misdirect from Richie, I have to say. But at the same time, it's like, but how could she? We saw her. She can't even walk. She got her leg broken.
Yeah.
Her hand was, we saw her bloody hand as she's going through the wheelchair. There's no way in hell she could be the killer. But it is a decent misdirect. And I can't believe I did not automatically assume it was Richie when he tried to point the finger over at Tara.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you sure
that is one of his most damning moments.
Yeah, but that's me going like, and that's not me thinking Jack Quaid can be the killer because I've watched him in The Boys, and there's no way my sweet baby boy can be a killer. That's what the movie knows about you, about the audience. Like, oh, we know you love Jack Quaid. That's why he is the killer.
Right.
I mean,
that's why he has the line. That's why he has the line. I know. It's a bummer. It's me.
The second he shows up, I'm like, oh, it's my baby boy from The Boys. Yay.
And one last thing, I do really like, especially when you know later that he's a huge Sam fanatic, that him and Mindy exchange where he's like going to the basement with me and she's like, no, but you're right for asking. He's like, okay, I'll be right back.
That's so good.
All right.
The movie's really funny.
Let's go into final thoughts on 5cream. All right. Benjamino.
Yo.
What give it your final thoughts and rating?
Oh man, solid entry in the Scream franchise. I don't have a lot of bad things to say about it. I mean, we'll get into our rankings of the films later, but this is definitely one of the more top films for me. It can jump up and down depending on how I feel. But yeah, I had an absolute blast with this one. I would still give this like a solid 8.5. Very enjoyable. I love all the characters. I love all the actors. I love how it brings people, like it brought Sydney back, it brought Gail back, but it wasn't their movie. They were, I don't know if ancillary characters is the right term for it.
Support.
They were supporting. They were more support because they did pass the torch on to a new group of kids, a new cast. But the fact that they were still there helping out the younger kids, it's like, we've been through this shit 4 times now. We know what the F we're doing.
Yeah.
And also, I just love the scene when they walk up and they see Amber come out and they're like, what do you think? And Courtney Cox just goes, it's a trap. I'm just like, yeah, you see right through that bullshit. You go.
Ooh, real quick, before you give your final thought, more on Amber, I just love that like multiple times in the ending, she's like, no, this isn't my fault. he took advantage of me. And then she's like, F this, and tries to attack him again. I'm like, girl, anything to get out of this. You're so
She
spicy.
She tries to. She's like, "Oh, I was radicalized, all blind. I was just
I was
like,
radicalized. That's so good.
it's like, bitch, shut the f up."
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Solid 8.5. Fantastic. Now that I've seen all the Scream films, I'm like, man, I should have saw these sooner. These are
It's
actually
okay.
really good. They're fun.
You're here now.
I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy you get to go see one in theaters now. So that's what's super exciting.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually now very excited for Scream 6.
Scream movies in theaters are a great experience. I genuinely am sad that I was not a person who could have seen the first 3 in theaters.
Babies. We were babies.
Brandon.
I cannot wait for him to watch Evil Dead now.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a great time.
All right. We're going to put Ben through so many film franchises this year. It's going to be a great time. So stay tuned for all of those. But my final thoughts, I just have 2 things I want to mention. We didn't mention Dreadit instead of Reddit was mentioned in this movie. I thought that was fun. I really enjoy that. I do really like the Wes tribute. The kind of like having that West party and at the end for West, very very clever way to incorporate Wes Craven.
Someone else mentioned it, but like that I was listening to. But when Sydney enters Stu's house, there's a hat rack area on the wall next to it, and Wes Craven's hat that he was known to wear is on the rack.
Oh,
that's cool. This film is so reverential of Wes Craven and Scream, and it shows in every frame of it. It's a brilliant movie. It's a brilliant Scream movie. I've already spoiled my top ranking. I believe it's my favorite one in the franchise. I give it a 10 out of 10.
I think it's wonderful. Again, this is one of the better horror franchises when your worst one is still pretty good. I give it a 9. I think it's fantastic. I am so thrilled we got to do this. We probably would have rewatched them anyway for the new one, but like I'm glad we all got to do it together. It's been really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It really is hard to not stress enough that this just doesn't happen in general in films franchises that usually go for this long a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily as many entries, like there'll be more entries, but like as long a period of time, like over 26 years, and that you get solid entries throughout.
Yeah.
Especially getting to a 5th one this many years after the original and it's still being this good. Especially in horror films. So it really stands apart. It really stands out. And I'm so glad it's this franchise that is this good. I love this franchise. I love these characters. So I'm so glad it's this one. It's a 9. They did a great job for all the reasons we've talked about already. It's 9.
Love it.
All right, friends. So we're going to get into some rankings real quick. We're going to do 2 rankings. We're going to rank the movies real quick, and then we're going to rank the killers.
What's your favorite
for the films? We're just kind of going to give our rankings as a list, and we'll just discuss the differences if there are noticeable ones there. And then the killers will go one by one. All right, Ryan, you want to go first?
Hell yeah, this is going to go from best 5 to worst. Number 1, it's Scream. Number 2, it's Scream 2. Number 3 is Scream 5. Number 4, Scream 4. Number 5, Scream 3.
I'll go next and say my list is exactly the same. It is Scream at the top, Scream 2, then Scream 5, then Scream 4, then Scream 3.
Are we the same person?
Mine's a lot different.
Excellent.
Hell yeah.
Mine goes Scream 4 is number 1.
Damn, that's amazing, Ben. I love that.
That's
so
a good
much.
movie.
Yeah. My favorite Scream 4. Scream the original is number 2. Scream 5 is number 3. But I was saying the first and 5 they can flip flop. They can flip flop a lot. Sure. I really enjoyed Scream 5. 4 is Scream 2. I still think it's a solid film. It was one of those things. I just gotta put it there because I like the other 2 a lot more. And number 5 is Scream 3.
Sure.
Sorry, Roman.
Let's see. I got 5cream, number 1.
Yeah.
Top one. I adore this movie to bits. Scream, the first one. Number 2. Scream 4, Scriforum. Number 3. Then Scream 2. And not, again, those 4, just solid movies throughout. Just like wonderful movies that I would gladly watch at any given time. And then a space. Blank space, and then no, I'm kidding. Then Scream 3, which is really the only one I don't like. at the end of the day, so it like had to be down there.
Yeah, I think you're the least hot on it, but I still think you could agree, like, not a bad movie, not a bad movie.
No, not at all. It's just one that I don't particularly enjoy.
Sure. But like to be on that level in this franchise is remarkable. I will say, and Ryan can speak to it too, I think that the reason why Scream and Scream 2 are kind of untouchable in the top 2 spot for us is because like it's foundational to our youth and being exposed to horror. At least that's definitely what it is for me, is I kind of can't separate Scream from being the masterpiece it is that I saw when I was younger, and Scream 2 pretty soon after. That those two, they're kind of too baked into their, it's the same, like, you know, oh, I can't really, like, people tell me, some people will say that Hook isn't a good movie, and I'm like, I don't know, I can't help you there, friend.
Right.
Like, Hook's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I saw Scream and Scream 2 too young, it's too foundational. Like, those kind of can't be moved from their spot, regardless of how good I think 5cream is. I don't think Scream and Scream 2 can be removed from the top 2.
Yeah, I 90% agree. I also just think like it is like I did grow up with the first 2 specifically. Yeah. But I just look at all the movies and I think like I can't love 5cream as much because like without the first 2, like it doesn't have as much value because like those have to exist.
Right.
And I think those are just both like impeccable movies as well.
Yeah.
And I just think, yeah, I also just prefer older movies to newer movies as well. That's the me thing.
Sure.
So yeah, like I if I had a gun to my head, a Scream 6 gun to my face, I would probably watch the original ones. But like again, this is like arguably like the best horror franchise after going through all of them.
For sure. Yeah. Scream was instrumental in like my transfer in youth from like liking spooky things but not liking horror movies.
Sure. Yeah.
Like I liked Halloween, I liked like Halloween the Holiday, I liked the classic monster movies and that kind of thing, but like really scary movies, it's not that I hadn't been exposed to them. I had, because my dad had exposed me to them, but I wasn't really connecting with them. Seeing Scream when I did, which was pretty young, about 8 or 9, but like it was the first thing that made me feel like, oh, this belongs to my generation. This is mine. This is horror for me. And that changed my relationship with horror. So, and Scream 2 was pretty close to that time period. So like, I feel very attached and possessive of those. But a really great franchise overall. Ben, I love so much that Scream 4 is at your top. That's so cool.
I love that movie. I had an absolute blast when I first saw it. I was like, man, this movie's great.
I think we all are just on the same page of like, you know, Scream 3 just regardless of if it's, you know, kind of the time it came out, there's again, like, you know, that they really pulled back on the violence because of Columbine, all this kind of stuff we talked about in the previous episode, talking about the Scream franchises you should check out. It just ends up where it ends up. It doesn't quite hit that like execution level that the rest of these did.
Yeah.
Even as it is still not a terrible film.
And it's still, you know what? It is the worst movie. Still has my favorite character in the entire franchise, and that's Jennifer Jolie, baby.
That's true. And I will say where it lands is it does land the closure of like Sydney's arc of growth. The final stuff about her moving forward, her getting her last, like, you know, I'm done, I'm moving forward with my life, I'm not going to be beholden to the killers, like as a arc for her, it does stick that landing, and I think that's the most important part of Scream 3, even though it stays at my bottom.
The thing about the Scream franchise that I think makes at least obviously our top 4, you know, even though they're in different orders, like they're all the same movie. Like the thing is, like, these movies, they know exactly what they're about. They know exactly what they need to be. They know exactly the characters that they're doing. And the first 3 are a really solid trilogy about Sydney. Like I agree, Sparks, like 3 is the weakest, and obviously it's at the bottom, and I'm a lot colder on it than you guys are, but like still, like, it's a solid movie about Sydney's arc, and it wraps it up really nicely. Scream 4 is I for some reason ranked it at 3.5 stars when I first watched it on Letterboxd, and I don't really know why, because it's a solid movie. And like I really liked it, and still that movie was like, we're not killing Sydney. This is Sydney. We're not even at that point. They were just like, there's no point in killing Sydney in Sydney anymore. She's untouchable now. Right. And the fact that they're always like, Sydney just needs to be Sydney Prescott. and she needs to be left alone. And even if we can find a way to bring her into the movie, which I'm really grateful that Scream 6 isn't, it never goes away from that. And I think that what I'm trying to say is at the core, they know exactly what these movies are, and that really helped every single one of them succeed.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right, friends. It's time to rank the killers. We're going to be ranking them individually. So this is out of the total at 9. We're going to start from the bottom and work our ways up. And the way this is going to work, if you listen to our top 15, it's going to be the same deal. We're going to go around and say a name. And only when everyone has said that killer will we talk about why we put them where we put them. Okay. I will kick things off. And I'm going to tell you that my number 9 is 110% Charlie Walker from Scream 4.
9 is Charlie Walker.
Higher.
All right.
Yeah, not by much, but yeah, higher.
Okay, so then go ahead and give your number 9s, guys.
I'll go. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
We have the same number 9, actually. Yeah, it's Roman.
Okay.
Okay, higher for me. Okay, I'll pick it up, and so it's my turn. Number 8 is, I hate to say it, it's Mickey Altieri.
Same.
Higher.
Which one's that?
Timothy Olyphant.
Oh, that's my number 8 too. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay,
Yeah.
Ben, he's higher for you also?
No, he's number 8.
Okay, excellent. So, what's your number 8?
Roman.
Okay. So we still haven't hit Roman, and we still didn't hit Mickey. So for everybody,
I have a feeling the bottom 4 are going to be different. I'm like,
so Charlie's higher for you guys?
A little bit. He's not by much.
We're about to hit Charlie.
Okay. So my number 7 is Roman. So now we've all done Roman. So here's the thing, and I'll say it because I put him the highest of the three of us. Roman goes higher simply because the execution might be sloppy and everything, but Roman, I think the intent of what Roman is a good idea, and I think that his is one of the first ones where we really get the Sydney being like, I'm fed up with this shit, just shut up, and really see the kind of toddler having a fit reaction in a killer because they're so upset that Sydney won't take them seriously. And I think that's one of my favorite parts about Roman is when he's so proud to unveil his whole plan and how I've been behind everything, and Sydney couldn't give less of a shit.
Yeah.
Is just over it. And it pisses Roman off so much. It flusters him so much. It's one of the things that makes me, he just has a presence as a character in the franchise is more valuable to me, frankly, than the lower two, especially Charlie for sure.
Yeah.
So that's where I end up. You guys can say why Roman ended up where you.
I don't disagree. I really don't. It's just that I just don't think he's executed well, and that really hurts it for me. I think you're right. That is what his purpose is in the movie, and for the most part, it's well done. But it's just there's just something there that just doesn't work for me, and that's honestly the only reason why he ended up so low.
For me, it's.
You had him at number 8.
Yeah, I had him number 8. So I really like the idea too. But if you want to have your villain be like, I'm the mastermind and I've been a part of everything, it didn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Watching the trilogy, it felt like you retcon. I mean, that's what 2 does too, so it's not a big deal. But the feel of it doesn't feel like it works naturally. So it's this big reveal, and I'm like, I have to accept that all these things are true, I guess. So yeah, he's not the total bottom because Charlie has literally nothing going on. So yeah, he's 8.
Ben.
For me, it was the reason why Roman's at the bottom is just because it wasn't really a shock factor, and also we don't see him throughout a lot of the stuff that Ryan said. I agree with, and that's why I put Roman at number 9. He was just one of those guys that because a lot of the times when we go where we're watching Scream films, they're part of the action or there's something going on. And then it's like, okay, yeah, this is, and then when the reveal happens, it's like, oh my God, it was you the whole time. Whereas Roman's like, oh, it was my reaction. Really, my reaction to Roman was like, oh, it was you? Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess.
Yeah, and it's just if they had a scene, like I talked about I talked about on the episode, but if they had a scene together between Sydney and Roman, that maybe would change a lot, but it just doesn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I get it. Okay. So we're clear of Roman. What's your number 7, Ryan?
My number 7 is Amber.
Ooh. All right.
Higher.
Higher.
Number 7, Ben.
My number 7 is Charlie.
Okay. And
My number 7 is
Brandon?
Charlie.
Excellent. So now we can talk about Charlie. All right, guys. I respect your opinions to put Charlie as high as you did. Respect it totally. Charlie is the most dull to me of all the killers because he leaves absolutely zero impression. For me, Rory Culkin is just kind of in the movie, and he has one good scene right before he's revealed to be the killer, which is when he's having the interaction.
The Kirby scene.
He's when he's having the interaction.
That's like
with
the
Kirby.
only scene.
But then after that, he's just like
there.
They make jokes about other killers being like kind of imitations of Stu, Timothy Olyphant's character, or even Amber to an extent. But like Charlie's the one who I'm like, this is just like discount Stu. This has nothing else of merit to it to me. Now here's my other thing. I think that whoever the killer was going to be in that one to pair with Jill had to be that. They had to just kind of be the nothing edition because it's about Jill. It's about Jill betraying them and screwing them over. But it does mean that like I don't think Charlie has anything memorable about him as a character. So I put him way at the bottom.
Mhm.
No, I agree with everything you said. Yeah,
No,
he
no.
has one scene that I remember, and it's with Kirby before he's revealed to be the killer. And I think like that's the intent just right there.
The reason why I put him a little bit higher, because I do agree with everything you said. He is kind of dull and boring. It's like lame. The only reason why I put him a little bit higher is because I thought his reveal was just like, oh shit. And then the roller coaster that we go on when the other killers reveal it was just like, to me, the reveal of Charlie being a killer was such a good reveal to like, because you don't really up until that point, you see someone tied to a chair, they're innocent, they're not the killer, and then when he stabs Kirby, it's like, oh shit, everything is now on its head. And really, it's just for that part. But I do agree, he kind of sucks most of the time. But it was that one moment where he does stab Kirby. It's like, okay, all bets are off. Who's the other one?
It is a shocking reveal.
It's a shocking reveal. I'll
Yeah.
grant you that for sure.
That's honestly the only reason why he's number 7 for me too.
Sure. Yeah. It's a good reveal. Just the character, I'm like, take him or leave him. He's just kind of he's so overshadowed. Like all the other killer pairings, so not Roman, but the other killer pairings, I feel like they have a good yin and yang.
Yes.
And like he's so overshadowed by Jill. I'm like, why are you even here, bro? Like,
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I was thinking is like with all the killer pairings minus Roman, it's like you have one who's just whoa, and the other you just go meh. Charlie's
Sure.
definitely one of the meh ones.
100%. Okay, who was your number 8 again, guys? Just remind me.
Mickey.
My number 8 is Mickey as well.
Okay, got it. Okay. Cool. Okay,
So
so I'm picking up that was 7. So we're going
Yeah.
to number 6. Mine is Amber Freeman.
Me
6, Mickey.
6 is
Okay,
Amber.
So that's Mickey. We've all said Mickey. Go ahead and say why Mickey goes above Amber for you.
Yes, they're both kind of like just like weird wild card people who have great Frankenstein returns when you think they're dead. I love Mickey has my favorite again. Like that gets him a point above someone else just for that alone.
Sure.
But I just really like Timothy Olyphant being like a goofy movie guy. He's like the top of the bottom list for me because like the top 4, like I like all those guys a lot. Then like the rest are like they're okay to great to fine. Yeah, like Amber and Mickey are kind of like around the same for me.
I put Mickey at number 8. I know you guys did too, but I put Mickey there. I love Timothy Olyphant. It really just comes down to one thing. He's not in the movie enough.
Yeah,
I just frankly, like when he's not, I don't mean like his reveal as the killer is really good. I love how he's performing in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not in the rest of the film enough for me. I wish he was in like 1 or 2 more scenes and then I would probably have him higher, but he's just like, he's forgotten at a certain point in the film and then he comes back as the killer.
I agree with that. I also think the relationship he has with the other killer I like more than some of the other pairings.
Sure.
Like I just think and we'll get to
I think it's a better version of Jill and Charlie.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I put Mickey's number 8 mostly because I thought he was overshadowed by the reveal of his partner.
Sure.
And also I agree he wasn't in the movie enough.
Yeah.
But I do want to agree with Ryan when his turn come back from the death scene is like the funniest bit because he does look like a Frankenstein.
It was so tough when I had to be like, for me, like I just like the Roman story beat more than I like Mickey's presence in the movie.
Yeah.
And I think Amber's just a more effective and included version of Mickey. Timothy Olyphant's fantastic. I wish I could put him higher. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I just think that he's just not utilized enough. Brandon, your any other thoughts on this?
That's why he's 8 for me, honestly. You guys nailed it. Like that, he's just not in the movie enough. When he shows up the second time, the most recent time I watched it for this, I forgot he was even in the movie. By the time he shows up as the killer, I was like, oh shit, right, Timothy Olyphant.
I even forgot his. He's also kind of forgettable. I totally forgot his character
but like
name.
that's true. But also, like, I do kind of like his motivation, which when he's just like, I want to be on national TV. You saw the O.J. Simpson trial. Like that's pretty good.
I love that.
I do like that he's the killer who's like, Mickey is the guy who wants to get caught. Yeah, I'm like, okay, cool, Mickey.
I don't know. That sounds a little dumb to me. But
And he also
But it
does
sounded
the
dumb to
thing-
Mrs. Loomis too. So
He does a thing with Derek, the boyfriend, where he's like, "We finally got her, Derek, right? Winky face. You're definitely in on it with
Ben,
me." I love that.
All the killer's motivations are stupid.
are.
It's just that
Murder.
Mickey-
There's never a good
Mickey's
motivation.
is just really
They are.
entertaining.
yeah.
They
And
are.
like,
That's why
I wanna-
love it. Yeah.
I want to asterisk my list that I did this on the fly when we first started recording. So like many of these people could change.
But I think that, you know, like outside of Ryan is separate, he put Amber lower than the rest of us. But like you three, we have them in different orders, but we have the same bottom three, which is
Yeah.
Roman, Charlie, and Mickey.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said your number 6 was Mickey.
Yeah.
Ben, number 6.
Amber.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then
Amber.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's Amber. We've all said Amber now.
She's just a wild card. I love her.
Yeah, I get why you have her and Mickey swapped.
Yeah.
I think the actor is better than the character is on paper. I think that's really like what puts Amber a little higher, is I think she brings more to the table as a performer.
Mhm.
On paper, I don't like Amber very much. I don't think she's got a lot of good script moments in the film. I think she's overshadowed by other characters a lot. But I think the actor does enough to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And that's really what put Amber up to this number for me.
I'll agree with that. Like, I just think that like Amber is a fun character because I really like what they're trying to do with Scream 5 with 5cream of what these killers are, and I think that she has a good killer reveal. The movie keeps you guessing whether or not she is the killer or not, and I really like the ridiculousness that every time we see her calling someone, it's just her phone. She doesn't even try to hide it.
One of my favorite, an example of what I'm talking about with the actor thing is like one of my favorite moments is there's this bit where like for no reason the camera is on her when like Richie's explaining something and she just goes,
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, what is this?
All right,
And I'm
psycho.
like, I don't even think that was in the script, and I genuinely think that the actor's just trying to get as much out of the moment as possible. So like the gloating about killing of Dewey and the way like she'll try and turn things on a dime into her favor, whatever it takes. It does, like, for her performance makes me like her more. But like before her killer reveal, I'm just kind of like, nah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another reason she's one lower than Mickey, because like I don't believe you're killing some of those people. Short.
That's true. That's another part of it for sure. I just that also makes me want to put her a little low for fairness.
I feel like I had her pegged as a killer early on. I was like, or maybe not pegged. I was like, it's you. It's more of like, I have a feeling it's like, one of those gut feelings that you think it's her. And it definitely also, I got like that feeling was validated in a bit, like when she's throwing a party for Wes after people are dying left and right. She's throwing this huge party at her house.
Yeah.
And she's just, and even this in the basement scene with Mindy.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought, oh, is she gonna die? So, but then she's like, she didn't die. I was like, what's going on here? This is
I thought they were
interesting.
gonna make out.
Me too.
That would've been wild.
Totally thought they were gonna do that. Also, I just kind of like when she finally reveals herself to be the killer. I just like how she just goes completely unhinged.
Sure.
She just go like the whole time she was putting up an act of being like the stoic friend, like making sure Tara has her inhaler and
She's
all
a
this
good
other
friend.
stuff. And then the second she's like,
Beat the shit out of her.
she just like decides to throw off the metaphorical mask. She just goes absolutely batshit.
Right. Again,
And-
like strong performance. I'm really interested in what's going to happen from here because, just as I said before, we all have the same bottom 6 to 9.
Yeah.
They're just in different orders. it's from here that I'm like, damn, this is gonna get
I'll tell you,
spicy. I have no idea.
On my top 4 on a different day probably could be interchanged, but
Sure.
I love the top 4.
Yeah.
So
My top 5 are solid as hell. Okay. My number 5 is Mrs. Loomis.
yeah. My number 5 is Richie.
All right.
Higher. My number 5 is Richie as well.
All right.
Loomis is higher for me.
My number 5 is Richie. Mrs. Lewis.
Yeah, the Richie
Lewis is higher.
Oh my gosh, I love this, guys. I'm so glad you guys put Mrs. Loomis higher.
I love her.
I love her too. So we'll get into it. We're not there yet.
Richie is great. He's
I
like
didn't say Richie yet. So
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
No, okay, it's okay. My number 4 is Richie. So we can talk about Richie now.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Yeah.
Richie was a hard one to put because when he does his reveal, he's like, "You were everything about toxic fandom, toxic masculinity that I absolutely hate." But you were putting it to an extreme that once again, like the whole time, I do not suspect it's Richie. Richie is definitely like the reason why Richie is just above Amber is Amber. I kind of felt like she was a suspect. Richie, not at all. Like he gets cut, he gets attacked. It's like for me, it's like a lot of times when people get attacked. I mean, I should have known from Screen 4. If you get attacked, that doesn't mean you're not the killer. Yeah, because I thought he was like when he's even the car when he said I'd never seen the Stab movies. I'm like, oh, okay, so I kind of relate to that. I was like, oh, it's kind of like me. I never saw the Scream films. Here I am watching them all, and
I'm the killer.
I should have seen it coming from a mile away. But his whole rhetoric on like how the fans are need to take back, they're ruining the movies. It's like this is our favorite thing, yada yada yada. It definitely hit that because a lot of discourse online were with these franchises coming up, a lot of the true fans, air quote, especially with Star Wars, how they claim that that these people are ruining our childhoods, they're ruining the thing I love, and it's like this is all I have, and how dare they? It kind of puts to light on how some crazy fans out there may do this IRL. Thankfully, as far as I know, nothing like that has happened. Hopefully it will never happen. But with the Stab movies, especially when he reveals himself to be just an absolute crazed fanatic of these films, it's like it's a little terrifying. And that's one of the reasons why I put Richie above Amber. Amber is just like I feel like Amber is just there, but with Richie, it's like elevates. It's like I love these films so much that they have to be perfect, and the fans need to take control of it.
I think Richie is just a more fun villain than Amber is, which is why I put him above. Richie's reveal is so solid, and it's just one of the most solid villain reveals in the franchise. Like he's just like when he's just like, yeah, I'm bummed it's me too. But like that's just such a good moment. The whole idea that Richie is just kind of this fandom personified is just, it really resonates with me. I just think he's a really solid killer overall.
Yes.
I obviously think that's true. I put him at number 4. To be honest with you, I was thinking about these rankings before we watched 5cream, and I was certain that Richie was going to be number 5. But watching it again and really watching Richie throughout the film, I was like, he's got to be number 4. And for me personally, I definitely am endeared. You're going to notice it. I'm endeared to the killers who are so lame that when they're losing, they have the kind of like, oh, what about my ending kind of moment. And I'm like, God, yeah, you pathetic piece of crap. Like, I kind of love them more for being so terrible.
Yeah.
And so lame and so sad.
Yeah.
And that really hits home for me. And then, of course, everything about like genuinely in the theater, like the moment of, yeah, it's a bummer it's me. It's like, God, yeah, it is a bummer it's you, Richie. God damn it.
It's me more saying, oh, Jack Quaid.
Yeah.
And less Richie, like more, no, Jack, he betrayed me.
Right. But like they knew what they were playing with that and playing into. And then like his turn, I feel like he does a very good job of his turn into like not becoming a completely unhinged character, but in just being like revealing all his these are my pathetic desires and lame wishes and here's how I'm going to get it, damn it, I deserve it. And it's delivered so well. So for me, like he landed at number 4.
He's 5, and then the top 4 I love, and Richie being 5, he's also really, really great. It's a situation of like I don't have any problems with Richie. I just like the 4 above just more.
Sure.
And that's just to show like this franchise has a lot of really, really great villains.
Yeah.
Where like I would even argue like top 6. Like I could interchange Mickey and Amber maybe on a different day, but like as long as it's not those bottom 2, like these are all I enjoy all these villains really.
Bottom 3.
Bottom 3, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go to your number 4.
Number 4, Mrs. Loomis.
Okay, Ben.
Higher. My number 4 is Billy.
Nice.
All right.
Number 4 is Mrs. Loomis.
Okay.
Mrs. Loomis.
I had Mrs. Loomis number 5, 2 number 4s, but we still can't talk about Mrs. Loomis, so we'll keep on moving on because Ben put her higher. Okay. My number 3 is Jill Roberts.
Number 3, Stu Mocker.
All right.
Number 3
higher
is
for me.
Stu.
Huh?
Stu.
Number 3 is Stu.
Number 3 is
Okay,
Stu.
Brandon.
Number 3 is Stu.
Ooh, we're gonna have the same. I
Wow.
think we might have the same top 4, baby.
This is so exciting.
Love it.
Okay. Number 2 is Billy Loomis.
Higher.
Higher. Number
Uh,
2 is Jen Prescott.
Jill
Number
Roberts.
2.
Jen Roberts.
My number 2, Mrs. Loomis.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can talk about Mrs. Loomis.
What a psycho. Oh, excuse me, Debbie Salt. Debbie Salt. Let's correct ourselves. The reporter Debbie Salt. I just love that she is like the most quote unquote sane of them, and by that she might actually be the most insane because she's the only one who's like everything I'm doing is totally normal. Nothing I'm doing is crazy. This is perfectly in line with what I'm supposed to do. You hurt my baby boy. I'm just getting revenge. Totally normal revenge. I just think it's hilarious. I love that she has dual identities throughout the entire movie, and you don't suspect it. I just think she's just a lovely, ridiculous person.
Everything Ryan said multiplied by 5 because her reveal at the end to me was just like, what? Especially when she reveals that she was Billy's mom.
It's
Or
so
she is
stupid.
Billy's mom. And that the whole movie you see her as this bumbly reporter because I thought she was the next, she was going to be or tried to be the next Gail Weathers who's trying to write down these murders. And turns out that she was the one committing them. And even when, like, I love when she was talking about how she killed Randy. It's like, oh, he was talking so much bad things about my little boy. I just got a little knife happy. It's like, wow.
Knife happy.
God damn. It's like, all right. Okay. I see it now. So yeah, Mrs. Loomis is up there for me.
Solid, Ben. I'm thrilled by that. That's very exciting. Mrs. Loomis ends up at my number 5. She ends up there because I love her. Again, Scream 2, second favorite of my movies. And I love how she's kind of always there but hidden. You're never looking for her. You never see her coming. And the shock value adds a lot. Mm-hmm. The thing is that I enjoy her reveal. I enjoy her motivation. I enjoy the inclusion of Billy Loomis's mother. I think all that's very good. And I think she performs it very well. I really like her when she gets to the reveal and everything. And I like how she exists in the background. The thing is, I just don't feel like she's present enough. And I think that's on purpose and it works out in the movie. And I will say, like, the other thing is I'm totally on board with the manipulating Mickey thing and everything. As far as I can tell in Scream 2, she kills one person.
Yeah.
And so not gonna beat out my other killers who I'm just
she's a mastermind.
A little more endeared to. She's cool. I like her a lot. I really love her reveal and inclusion. Scream 2 would not be the same without her. Mm-hmm. I just enjoy the other killers a little bit more overall.
Again, these are all great things. So like us interchanging one spot, not really that big of a difference.
Yeah.
She ended up in my number 4, and I don't wholly disagree with what Sparks is saying, but I really enjoy her. I think she's a lot of fun. She brings her villain reveal is really solid, and when she's there, she brings this kind of like maniacal mastermind energy to the movie that I just think she's incredibly fun.
Yeah, there's definitely a version where you'd have to do a lot of changes, but where her masterminding in Scream 3 in the Roman role makes more sense as like the person who motivated Billy to do the killing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a mother's encouragement and a mother's calling, like this was always her, like she raised Billy to do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot to love about Mrs. Loomis. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Wow. This is so fascinating. Okay. So we hit Ben's number 2, Brandon number 2.
Jill.
Jill.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've all said Jill now.
Two Jill.
Nope. Jill's higher.
Jill's still
Well,
higher.
it's his favorite. His
Okay,
perform is
yeah,
favorite.
that's fair. Okay, man, who?
I think we all,
What?
because Billy's number 4, Stu is my number 3. I think we all said them at least.
I
Stu
haven't
is
said
my-
I haven't said Billy.
Stu is my number
Yeah.
3.
And I haven't said Stu, so here we go. Okay, so my number 1 is Stu.
My number 1's Billy.
Brandon?
Oh, right, because yours is Jill. Mine is Billy.
Yeah, mine is Jill.
Man, this is so okay. So I guess I'll start. So because I was first, my number 1's Stu.
Mhm.
My number 1 is Stu because the thing is, like, I love Matthew Lillard as Stu.
Yeah.
I've always loved Matthew Lillard as Stu. I think Billy Loomis is great. I think Skeet Ulrich does a great job. It's hard to fuck with the original.
Yeah.
But it's that Billy Loomis is, I think, doing. Skeet Ulrich has the slightly easier job of that. He's playing the. I know you think I'm the killer, so I'm playing into you thinking I'm the killer, but also I actually am the killer. So all that maliciousness, that oozy, goody maliciousness is really good.
Yes.
Stu is kind of the wild card, and I mean that in the best way.
Yeah.
Stu's fun and engaging. Stu's a character who, like, the first time I watched Scream, I didn't want Stu to die because I love Stu. And then it turns out Stu's a killer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and you have to remember, like, going all the way back, like, I didn't know that was going to happen. Like, there was no world where I anticipated 2 killers. It totally threw my world upside down. And having Stu be the reveal, and again, referencing back to what I said about Richie, I'm endeared to the killer who, like, kind of ends up in the place of, oh no, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
Yeah.
I love Stu. I love Stu as the, like, person who was manipulated by Billy slightly because he's bisexual and attracted to Billy 100% and wants to sleep with him.
Yes.
And all of that I love, and I love his performance and his energy and his charisma. So for me, like, Stu just takes it. Scream isn't Scream without Stu.
Yeah.
And it's not Scream without Billy, but it's really not Scream without Stu.
To bounce off that, everything you just said is correct, and that is why I put Billy as my number 1. Because again, this is a personal list, but like if my number 1 Scream killer has to be a threatening killer, not to someone who got taken advantage of killer.
Mm-hmm.
And Stu obviously murdered people, but he was being taken advantage of by someone who knew how to manipulate him.
Mm-hmm.
And Billy is just like, he is the original. He is the original mastermind, and he is, again, 25 years later, he is in Scream 5 as a focal point for our main character. So like, Billy Loomis is like probably, like, besides Sidney, obviously, like, the most important character in this franchise. And I don't think if you start that Scream 1 without having such a good duo of Stu and Billy, like, if you only have one of them, I don't think it would work. And, like, both of them together make it really work. But I just prefer. I mean, Stu's my number 3, Jill's my number 2. So like, if Jill weren't here, it would be 1 and 2 from Scream, right? Because everything you said about Stu, I also love. I love that he is the wild card and he's not the one you suspect. And then you feel bad for him at the end, even though he's a murderer. That is a fascinating thing, and you know that you can do that with antagonists in film and stuff.
Real quick, I think the other thing that I want to point out about Stu, in contrast to Billy, what I love about them, and I do love this genuinely about Billy, is when Billy, like, again, a lot of people will reference back to Stu with some later killers of how they get, like, really, really out there and crazy when they do their killer reveal. And they'll reference Stu as that point. And I'm like, that's not quite right. Billy is the one who reveals how truly psychotic and rage-filled he is at the end of Scream when he reveals he's the killer. Stu just reveals he's a killer. He doesn't change energetically. He's exactly who he was before the killer reveal. He's just as wacky and weird.
Yeah.
He's just also revealing that he killed people.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that I also endears me to Stu, but I agree with your points about Billy. Brandon, you also put Billy at number 1, so let's touch on Billy. Billy's my number 2.
Well, I want to talk about
for all the
Stu.
reasons that I love him.
And then I get to talk about Stu.
Oh, right. Go ahead. Talk about Stu. Sorry.
Stu's my number 3.
Right.
And honestly, quite frankly, for a lot of the same reasons that he's your number 1, Sparks. Like, I know that's going to be weird to say, but like, I do really like Stu. I think Stu is a lot of fun. I think Matthew Lillard is delivering a great performance. And frankly, the only reason why he is at number 3 is because I like the two above him more. There really isn't any other reason than that. But I do 100% agree with everything that you're saying about that character.
Sure.
Is it time to talk about
Ben? Where did you put Stu?
Stu's number 3.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Stu?
I'll talk about Stu and Billy in the same vein, because Billy's number 4 and Stu's number 3. The reason why I put Stu just a little bit higher is because I just like Matthew Lillard's performance more. I
Yeah,
like
sure.
like because with Billy and his thing, yes, it's motivated by revenge. It's motivated by this. Like you said, Stu is a wild card. That's not a bad thing. And to me, it's always the wild cards that are like the more unhinged, the more batshit crazy, and the ones who are like willing to do some crazy shit. And they're just like, I'm just gonna do it because I'm like that. So that's why. Whereas Billy had a good motivation, kind of good motivation, Stu was the more terrifying one to me. Like if you had to say who would you rather fight, Billy or Stu, I'd rather fight Billy because I think I could take him. Stu, I don't know, kind of weird. It's like kind of like this is gonna be a weird fight.
Stu still has like my favorite line where like he blood coming out of his mouth. I'm dying, man. And, like I always think about
Feeling a little woozy here.
Yeah, I love
And
it.
also Matthew Lillard as Stu was fantastic.
Sure,
Love
sure. Okay, so Billy's your number one.
Billy's number one.
Billy's Brandon's number one. We established it's number 4 for Ben. Let's talk about Billy. He's my number 2.
Billy.
It's again like it's Stu just for personal reasons edging Billy out, but Billy's fantastic. You can't mess with the original recipe. Like they make Scream, they make it.
They start the formula.
Right.
Yeah.
Billy Skeet Ulrich, I think, is doing an incredible job. We touched on it when we talked about Scream. I think he's very good at playing both sides of the coin of like tricking you and not tricking you.
Yes, the thing you said about like you think I'm the killer, so I'm going to play into that, but I'm not, but I am. Like it is so good in Scream 1. So good. He's always, him and Stu, always appearing when they shouldn't be and disappearing when they shouldn't be. Just great stuff.
I think that Billy has, frankly, Billy's the original. Like, he is the mold. He is the model. They did it in one. They nailed it. They built Scream around Billy Loomis being the main killer, and it works. And that movie lives or dies on Billy Loomis's killer reveal, I think. Maybe not. Maybe that's too extreme.
No,
but whatever. I said it.
I think you're right because you have to give complete credit to the original Scream that everybody, the first time they watch it, thinks 2 things. There's one killer, and it's Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah.
And then he gets stabbed. And they're like,
oh
shit,
what?
I was wrong. And they feel bad. And then it's like, nah, you were right. There's just 2. And like, that's true. That's exactly what happened to everybody. It's why Scream becomes the phenomenon it does, is because everybody saw that movie when it first came out and said, Billy Loomis is the killer. 100%. I don't care about that fake out with the cops. He's the killer. And then, no, he isn't. Except he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant. I think it's a brilliant killer. I think he's a brilliant character. He's a lot of fun in the role. He's brilliant. I like him a lot.
I really love, my favorite thing about Skeet Ulrich is I think he brings so much more depth to Billy by how he does his turn when he decides to unveil everything on Sid. And he's so good at being like, it's like he and Stu are in 2 different endings.
Yeah.
Because Stu's like doing this kill reveal thing, and Billy's like, this is very personal to Billy. And Billy's so laser focused on Sid and what this means to him. He doesn't give a shit about Stu resting on his shoulder or any of this kind of stuff. He doesn't give a fuck about Stu at this point.
Yeah.
It's all about his driven focus on what he was doing and why.
Oh yeah, because the whole thing, it's like, it's not personal, and we're trying to like do something, and then it's like, yeah, but remember when your mom did this thing? This is totally personal.
Right.
Like, yeah. Love it.
All right.
Is it time to talk about Jillian?
It is. It's time to
Jillian.
talk about Jill.
My number 2.
My number 3.
My number 1.
Yeah, we all like her. She's great.
Ben, why? Number 1. Why?
Yeah, she's because she's my number 1 because of her reveal, because of the twist it takes, because the entire time she was playing the victim, because that you not once throughout the entire film did I suspect she was the killer. Not once. And then when she does reveal herself to be the killer, when she takes the mask off, when she goes through her plan of like how she was living in the shadow of Sydney and how she wants that fame, but she can never get it. And the lengths that she goes through to make herself to continue to play the villain role. She not only she just kills Charlie in cold blood, she stabs herself. She takes Trevor's hand and rips her cheek open. She pulls her own hair out.
She runs into glass, throws herself on a table.
She does all the things to make it look like she was attacked by Trevor. And the fact that when it's revealed that Sydney survives, she's like, I gotta go take care of loose ends. She's like, oh, yay, shit. Um, just her whole unhingedness and really the shock value of her reveal got me.
Yeah.
The reason why she's my number one is because the entire time, and now I've only seen the movie once. I'm pretty sure upon a rewatch, I could be like, okay, now I can see why she's the killer. She was one of the killers this whole time. But when she watches her own friend die in front of her, she's constantly afraid that, oh my God, my cousin's here. My friends are dying. My friends are getting hurt. And she's orchestrating it. It's, to me, it's just like, mwah, chef's kiss on a great misdirect, on a great, you thought, but no.
Yeah. Right. Because
go ahead, Sparks.
I was gonna say, because when Scriform comes out, she's given to us in the Sam role of 5cream. She's, this is the new Sydney.
The new Sydney, yeah.
Get ready for the new Sydney. And nope, this is the new Billy.
It's awesome.
But that's the point of the movie. That the misdirect of the movie is here's the new Sydney, and the movie is I'm going to be the new Sydney.
Right.
I have her at number 2 only for one reason only. I agree with everything Ben said. I agree with what Sparks said. Brilliant character. Love her so much. But she is my number 2 because of when she stages the scene and ends it with her faced with Sydney on the ground. Brilliant scene. Brilliant scene. Love her performance. Brilliant character. That's why
I love her motivation. She's like, oh, nobody gets famous for actually doing things anymore. You get famous by being a victim. You get famous by having bad things happen to you. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's true. Look, I mean, Cotton, that's what Cotton did. Yeah, it's truly heinous. And like, it's not just the fact that she's like killing her friends. Like, she's doing this to her family too.
Right.
To her family who has been through this already. It's probably like, in terms of motivation, like the gross, like the worst, like the most gruesome.
Yeah.
It's just awful. And like, you're willing to like do all this. And again, like to your family, cause like, how come I didn't get any fame out of this? Like, you're famous. I want to be just like you.
There's a callousness that is inherent in Jill, because these are like people she was close to,
yes.
Which like isn't even nearly as steeped in as any of the other killers.
Oh, and and because she was related to Sydney, like people always asked her about it, and she was annoyed by it. Like, that's a big deal. That like, oh, somebody's asking about your cousin who almost got murdered a dozen times. Like, grow up, girl. Give me a break. Like, she's so good. She's so good.
For me, she only ends up at number 3 because like I can't put anybody over Billy and Stu.
Yeah,
I just can't. Like, I love them too much. They are too much. Who are Scream to me.
Yeah.
But I will say that Emma Roberts' Jill is I think the scariest killer.
Sure.
And I think she's the scariest killer because I think she is the most in control. I don't think she's unhinged at the end. I think she's the most comfortable and in control.
Oh, sure.
As a killer.
She knows who she is.
I think she knows exactly who she is. I think she knows exactly what she wants. She's the one who doesn't feel pathetic to me.
Yeah.
She feels like she knows exactly how the world works, exactly how to get what she wants, and is committed to doing it. Again, like the self-mutilation scene that she goes through is chilling because she is the most like, again, it doesn't feel like the same kind of like crazy energy that Amber has or that kind of thing. It's no, you like are sociopathic. You know exactly how to make this all work. It makes Jill very scary. Because it also, I think it's scary because I think it's accurate because she is the most in control. Jill's the one who almost wins.
Yeah.
She's the one who almost gets away with it.
Sydney had to survive.
She almost has it. Like, she has everybody in the palm of her hands through so much of that film. Whereas like the other killers don't really come close to their goal. Not really.
And you know what? If she wasn't so maniacal, I bet there's a way at the hospital where she could have killed Sydney if she just didn't open the door and start monologuing like a supervillain. If she was a little more stealthy and like, would have thought about it, instead of just being pure rage murder mode, she could have won. But she had to open that door and like, oh, you had to be alive, didn't you, Sydney? I'm like, come on, girl, have some class.
Yeah.
She's awful in the best way.
All right.
Look at that.
That's
wow.
I love it. I love how ranged and various.
1996 to 2023, Screamy. We're here.
Do we want to just reiterate what our numbers were for the audience?
Sure. I'll go first. Going from bottom to the top. It's at the bottom is Charlie Walker. Poor Charlie means nothing. Next is Mickey Altieri. Next is Roman Bridger. Next is Amber Freeman. Then Mrs. Loomis, Richie Kirsch, Jill Roberts, Billy Loomis, and at the top, Stu Macher.
Oh, making a mockery of these lists. My number 9 to 1. Charlie, Roman, Amber, Mickey, Richie, Mrs. Loomis, Stu, Jill, Billy.
At number 9 for me, Roman. At number 8, we got Mickey. 7, Charlie. Amber, number 6, getting up there. Richie, also pretty up there. Billy, I know he's original, but at the same time, Stu just beats him out just barely. Mrs. Loomis with that absolutely batshit crazy reveal. Oh my God. And my top is Jill Prescott because you never suspect her.
Roberts.
Jill Roberts.
I said
Jill
Prescott,
Roberts.
I assumed.
Yeah.
She's related. Yeah, she's not related on
The mom side.
Yeah.
Bottom to top, not starting number 9, Roman, Mickey, Charlie, Amber, Richie, Mrs. Loomis, Stu, Jill, Billy.
Solid list.
Nobody's wrong. These are all personal feelings of who the killers are, and like we said, like especially when you get into those top 5 or 6,
again, like,
everybody's just great and they're just edging out barely.
All of our like the first half and the bottom half are all the same, but just in different orders for everyone, basically.
Right.
So we're all right here.
We all know who didn't work and who worked.
Yes.
Sparks, can I ask you a question real quickly? Is this coming out before or after Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Definitely after Ant-Man.
Cool. So, guys, you can check out our review of Ant-Man and the Wasp up now if you want to check it out on the Fake Nerd Podcast, family of podcasts. This has been Scream. This is now all the Scream movies. We did it. We did Scream 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we will review 6 when it is out in theaters. But now you can check out all the Scream films.
Let me tell you, I was excited for Scream 5, but now that we've done this journey, my anticipation for Scream 6 is through the roof. Especially after we finished Scream 5, I was like, can we please watch the Screevy trailer right now so I have all this context? And like Kirby's there, all the homies are there. We got new people, we got old people. We got a shrine of Screams. We got the original mask potentially from the first movie. So much cool shit. Is it a theater troupe? I'm still guaranteeing it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to revisit my killer rankings after Scream 6 and put Tony Revolori on that list for sure. I'm calling it now. He's a killer.
All right, so that'll do it, guys. Of course, you can check out all of our Scream discussions. They will be available independently of the episodes they were on, so you can have all 5 to listen to or watch. And you don't have to go through. If you haven't already, exactly. If you're also like, oh, I just don't have the time to watch all the Scream movies before Screevy, let me do it now. Oh, wait, now I can watch the Fake Nerd Podcast discussion on the Scream franchise. I'm like, yes, you can. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I moved my mic. Whatever.
5cream.
Oh, 5cream. Yeah. For audio listeners, Ryan has a lidocaine 5% cream picture on the back of his
anesthetic cream. Thank you.
Yes. So of course you can check out all sorts of things on this channel. If you like this video, subscribe to this podcast. You can check out our Fake Nerds Watch series, which we have a few Fake Nerds Watch series going, but probably by the time that you're watching or listening to this, such as The Last of Us, Sparks and Ryan and good friend Pi talking about The Last of Us.
Yes, we are.
I will hopefully have started my discussion with Cookie from Just a Little Podcast on Star Trek Picard. Season 3 has finally aired. It's here, and we're going to talk about it for sure. So stay tuned for that. Of course, the Fake Nerds Watch audio feed is busy, guys. There's a lot of things on that audio feed now. I dropped the Star Trek Picard Season 1 and 2 discussions and the Loki discussions. They're there. You can check them out in audio format right now. Of course, if you'd like to subscribe to that. Basement Arcade, which is a video game Let's Play series. Basement Arcade Pause Menu, which is our video game discussion series, which Ben hosts primarily to talk about video games, which he just did with video game history with Retro Game Brews. Did I do that right, Ben?
That's true. That's correct.
That is the most recent episode that you can check out. It is out there. And, of course, Animation Station and Basement Arcade. Nope. Animation Station and Fake Nerd Book Club.
Isn't there also a Pause Menu audio episode out? Audio only?
There is a Pause Menu audio episode up. We have, in order to make our podcast a little bit more accessible, our 4-hour-long podcast a little bit more accessible. We are taking excerpts from it. This most recent week was episode 314, where you guys discussed the Nintendo Direct. That is now audio only on the Basement Arcade podcast feed.
Yes.
So you can check that out. That's
Love
up
it.
now. And of course, you can check out our mothership show, Fake Nerd Podcast, the show to end all shows, the glory be that she be. You can check out where we talk about news, we talk about movies, we talk about comic books, we talk about all sorts of things. The most recent episode that has aired at the time that you're watching or listening to this would be our discussion on Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. What do we think of it? I loved it. I hated it. Can you pick one of those depending on what we land on? Sparks, thanks. That'd be great.
I give it a insert number out of 10.
I'm whatever Brandon's actual feelings are, I'm gonna say he hated it.
No matter what. So of course you can check out that. And coming up,
no Michael Pena, unsubscribe.
I'm already sad. Don't remind me.
Yeah, me too, a little bit. But hey, we'll say that tonight. Coming up probably in the week after, I don't know, maybe Cocaine Bear, maybe we've got a ghost, we've got options, maybe no topic. We'll see. We stay tuned for that, and that's that. So guys, check us out on TeePublic or Patreon if you'd like to support us financially. Fake Nerd Guys on all the social medias, fakenerdguys@gmail.com. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. You can also find me writing for CBR.com, KaijuRamen.com, KaijuRamenMedia.com, and AtomicGeekdom.com. Got a couple pieces up on all the websites. Check them out if you want. Ben?
You can find me apparently screaming into work at Ben927 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, GoNintendo.com, and playing Mary Frankenstein, where you get a real scream at our Dungeons and Dragons D and Dark podcast. So go ahead and check that out.
Sparks?
You can find me getting creamy with the Screevy at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. I'm excited. I can't wait. This is going to be a thrilling time. I'm so glad Ben did this with us. I'm excited.
Ryan?
You can find me 200% convinced that a theater trooper are the killers for Scream 6 until the day I die at DJ Tony Snark 616.
Wait, I want
Stab the musical.
I want to be clear. The movie will come out. It might not be that. If it's not that, you will remain 200% convinced that it is.
No, I will write hey guys, I found the screenplay they didn't use. Crazy.
You're gonna be the true fan.
Scream 7's about me.
All right, like this video, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to us on all the podcast catches of your choice. And until next time you see us, guys, stay fake nerds.